17 people were arrested. One officer sustained a minor injury. The camp is gone, and campus is running normally this morning. Our top national story this hour, the House is expected to vote on a bill written in response to protesters at college campuses. The measure will divide Democrats, as ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy explains.
The bill would codify a working definition of anti-Semitism for the Department of Education to use as it enforces civil rights law when funding for colleges and universities is called into question. The definition was written years ago by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. It's controversial because it covers characterizations of Israel's founding as a racist endeavor. Moderate Democrats are likely to back this bill. Progressives are not.
The protests have evolved over the last week, some even escalating as far as pepper spray and tear gas. Your money at this moment, the markets are down, have been all morning. The Dow off 160. The S&P is down by 18. The NASDAQ in the red this hour by 71 points. Coming up, we have a sunny day today, but cooling off tomorrow with a slight chance of showers moving in. We'll take a closer look at your forecast next. KSL News Time 9:02. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
My name is Case Lawrence, and I'm running for Congress. The chaos at our southern border is a national emergency. We can fix the border, but not with politicians who are more worried about their own political future than America's future. I'm not a politician. I'm a problem solver. I hope you'll join me. I'm Case Lawrence, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Case for Congress.
Sometimes owning a small business means making big upgrades. Make them happen with a small business equipment loan from Cyprus Credit Union. For a limited time, get a rate discount of 0.50% APR and make the most of affordable credit union rates. Let Cyprus help you purchase or upgrade your commercial equipment today. Apply online at cypruscu.com.
Cyprus Credit Union, your future is our future.
Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Do you find it exhausting getting up from your favorite chair every day? Say goodbye to discomfort and hello to a world of ease. Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical, and you have so many options when buying a lift chair. For the highest quality, always come to Alpine. Our lift chairs are more than just furniture. They're your ticket to independence and relaxation. Plus, with our spring savings event, we've just marked down some of our chairs that are ready for you to take home. With an unbelievable warranty, you can shop with confidence knowing your comfort is our priority. So stop by any of our 11 locations today and explore our high-quality inventory, or visit us online at alpinehomemedical.com. That's alpinehomemedical.com.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, Dee and I had the chance to go to Hale Center Theater and catch the opening night of a regional premiere. The title of the show? I know you probably haven't heard it before because, as I mentioned, it's a regional premiere, May We All, a country musical. This is where the wide, wide world is like one big country song. What a fun show. Small-town country girl goes out for her dream and ends up back in her hometown in Tennessee. There are so many wonderful, familiar tunes here, original music, of course, and what I love is the fun story that's all mixed with the greatest voices and live music throughout the presentation. You're going to love May We All. And still to come, just around the corner now, how about the Time Machine? It's time to get your season tickets. Nutty Professor, Addams Family, The Magician's Elephant, Beauty and the Beast. There's so much more. Go to hct.org. Get your tickets now in time for Mother's Day.
Unfortunately, we still have an emergency traffic situation out there, so let's check it. Brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Not been an easy go this morning, Heather.
It's been very rough, and the delays start northbound I-15 in Orem just as you approach University Parkway and head all the way into Linden. Then you're going to see more stop-and-go traffic from Timpanogos Highway all the way to 33rd South and South Salt Lake, where an earlier crash just cleared. We also have a crash on Redwood Road at 3500 South in West Valley. Almost all the southbound lanes are blocked, and only one westbound lane is getting through, and a ton of debris in that area. Use Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and plumbing needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Going to be a warm day today. Highs just barely past the 60-degree mark. 61, I think, the official expectation. Clouds are going to stick around the rest of the week, actually bringing a slight chance of showers tomorrow and cooler air. But right now in Salt Lake City, nothing but sunshine and 46 degrees. From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
There is a huge story that is developing out of the University of Utah after police moved in with riot gear last night, arrested a whole bunch of protesters. 17 arrests were made, 5 different police departments. I think this is a horrible look for not only the state of Utah, it is also a horrible look for the University of Utah and the way they handled it, Dave, and for the 5 different police departments that the U says showed up on scene last night to take and arrest pro-Palestinian protesters.
And we didn't see this. This was happening across the country, and it really wasn't happening here in Utah. But as soon as it boiled up or bubbled up just a little bit, it was taken off the burner, like immediately taken off the burner. It's 9:08. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
The launch is brought to you by Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee. And here are the 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Taxpayers, you're going to have to put about $1 billion bill for, the new downtown sports arenas. And I was just really getting frustrated because we weren't being told where this thing was going to go. But Dave has been reading the Salt Lake Tribune, and he says they have done a great job spelling it out. So we got the skinny on this, huh, Dave?
And how we got there as well. It is truly downtown. It's just east of the Delta Center. But the story of how we got there, the threat to move the Utah Jazz and the hockey team, the panic that ensued that led to this $1 billion solution.
Countdown. 2.
Right. This is how day one Ev is campaigned for governor after he got the nod from the Utah GOP went, Dave, for Phil Lyman. He wound up in court. He wound up in court because the elections office, lieutenant governor's office, found that his running mate is ineligible to run for lieutenant governor because he doesn't meet the residency requirements that are stated in the Utah Constitution. So now Phil Lyman is suing the elections office along with Lane Bangeter, and he's saying, hey, you know what? He has lived here. He's a longtime Utah resident. But here's what I think is going to be Exhibit A for the elections office if they do end up battling this thing out in court. It's a video from WDBJ television. They did an interview with Lane Bangeter, and they called him an Idaho farmer back in 2020.
I am proud to cast all of Idaho's votes, 32 votes, to Donald John Trump.
Yeah, he was a delegate in Idaho.
And now he's in Utah. So what do I care if somebody has lived in Utah for 5 years or 5 years consecutively? And why 5 years? It seems like a very arbitrary number, although it's in the state constitution. But you're only a true Utahn if you've lived here for 5 consecutive years. But it still seems like an unforced error right out of the gate from Phil Lyman.
Launch countdown. 1.
As I said before, I'll say it again. This is just a horrible look for the University of Utah. It's a bad look for Utah. And the 5 police departments who responded last night to the University of Utah.
Yeah, a bad look, a horrible look. That's a good question, because I look at it and I think, you know what? If there's something going on, right now, and you don't want to enforce it, then why even have the laws? And you could feel the temperature across the country amping up in a hurry.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Oh, they came to protest the war between Israel and Hamas, and then they dared, Dave, to pitch tents.
Please take your tents down immediately. If your tents are not taken down, they will be removed by law enforcement.
We have got to talk about the video that I cannot unsee. Here are these protesters up at the University of Utah last night, setting up tents, protesting the war between Israel and Hamas, and then met with countless riot-dressed cops, a line of cops with shields. One protester watching Dave being dragged across the lawn. And this was like at 11 o'clock last night. It wasn't 4 o'clock in the morning. It was 11 o'clock last night. I cannot figure out why there was this massive force used up at the University of Utah on these protesters.
Did it feel too swift?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
Like, let them camp out, have a night, have your camp out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Monday night at the University of Utah. It's graduation week. I can't imagine that the 11 o'clock at night there's a bunch of students up there taking final exams. It felt like to me when I'm watching this video, this is the cops spinning this thing up. This is the University of Utah's response spinning this thing up.
Back up. Please back up, guys. Please kindly back up.
What were your thoughts when you watched this video?
That I'm not terribly surprised, because the temperature in the nation has been cranked up over the last several days. So I don't think this is just an isolated incident. I think police officers, campus, administrators are looking at this of what is going across the country and thinking, we're not going to let this happen, because we're watching what's happening at Columbia University, and the protesters are taking over buildings. There's sit-ins in businesses. This is what we don't want. So we're going to crack down, stop it before it starts.
Well, I hope to hear from the University of Utah at some point. Was there some indication that these students were mimicking what's going on in other parts of the nation? It didn't feel like that to me when I was watching the video. They were setting up on the lawn in front of right there in President's Circle. They were pitching tents. And then, 5 police departments. Utah Highway Patrol, West Valley City PD, the Unified Police Department, the Salt Lake City Police Department, the University of Utah Police Department, all start moving in. You can see this line of police officers. You can see cops with riot gear on. It felt to me to be over the top. I cannot figure out what law was bad enough that these protesters broke up at the University of Utah last night that required that level of force to be used against these protesters. It is a wild story that is unfolding, and these protesters, it sounds like, 17 were arrested according to what we've been reporting, and they were hauled off to jail.
We're here just waiting outside the jail here in Salt Lake City. We're here to support everybody that got arrested. Thankfully, no Metro organizers got arrested, but other community members did. It's 1 a.m.
So
we
now
have
the question is, who did organize this protest? And what do they mean when they say they're going to come back even stronger? We're going to get a live report from the University of Utah next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, one of the things that I've learned over the last several months as I've been working with Salt Lake City fat loss is you can lose weight, you can lose huge amounts of weight and keep it off. They told me early on, they said, we have the secret to losing up to a pound of fat every single day. And that's what I did. In 60 days, I lost 57 pounds. Many clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in just a month or two, and I feel fantastic. And the reason I chose to work with Salt Lake City Fat Loss is they told me early on, they said, we're not going to do anything with surgery, injections, insane exercise routines, and you don't have to buy all of our prepackaged meals. None of that. We're going to teach you. We're going to put you on a schedule. We're going to hold you accountable. And I saw incredible results, which helped me stay motivated. And again, because I paid for it, I wasn't going to cheat on the diet, right? Anytime you pay for something, there's an accountability, and I've loved the results. Salt Lake City Fat Loss has been fantastic for me. Go ahead and schedule a free consultation, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
Get the news.
There were crackdowns on protests on college campuses around the country overnight.
And a deeper understanding of the news.
Where I think it crosses the line, all of a sudden you're in my face.
Give us a call and your best argument.
Tim and Amanda catch you up first thing in the morning. Then join Dave and Debbie and Boyd Matheson for conversation about the news middays. And Jeff Kaplan has the latest developments on your drive home. For news and talk, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Oh, honey, it's our favorite leaf filter trusted pro, Matt. Matt, come in, come in.
Hi, Mrs. Sparks. You wanted me to stop by? Is everything okay with your leaf filter gutter protection system?
Okay. Of course, silly. We wanted you to stop by for dinner as our way of thanking you.
Yes, to thank you for that free gutter inspection, the free estimate, and what was the other thing?
That lifetime guarantee.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Sparks, those are just Leaf Filter's policies. Everyone who calls Leaf Filter gets a trusted pro to come out for a free gutter inspection and estimate. And every Leaf Filter installation comes with a lifetime guarantee.
So it's not just us?
No, sir. We don't want anyone to worry about clogged gutters ever again.
You mean everyone gets this level of service?
Everyone. They just need to visit leaffilter.com/build to schedule their free inspection.
Okay, but you must be starving. You work so hard.
Ready to love your gutter protection as much as we do? Visit leaffilter.com/build and get up to 30% off today.
See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You know, you're not supposed to have to bend the prongs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Here's an easy tip from Jordan Valley Water to know when it's time to water your lawn. If you can easily push a 6-inch screwdriver into your soil, you don't need to water yet. For more tips, visit waytowater.com.
Spring is a great time to elevate the look of your home and landscape by adding beautiful flowers to the yard and patio. And pros and hobbyists alike know that the best flowers are grown by Olson's Greenhouse, right here in the mountain valleys of Utah. This is Brian with Olson's Greenhouse, and my family has been growing flowers with love and care for over 80 years. That's 4 generations of a local, family-run Utah business. So whether you're looking to add a pop of color to the back patio or a beautiful flower bed to the front landscape, flowers from Olson's Greenhouse are the perfect finishing touch to make your yard a joy to relax in. Stop by ogg.com or find us on Instagram at Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you'll find inspiring photos to get you going on your flower gardening journey. You can also find a local retailer carrying plants from Olson's Greenhouse. That's ogg.com for Olson's Greenhouse Gardens, where you can dream big, dream bold, and dream in color with beautiful plants and flowers from Olson's Greenhouse.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app, and we still have stop-and-go traffic northbound I-15 from University Parkway in Orem up to 1600 North, where a multi-vehicle crash is still blocking the right shoulder. After that, you have 15 miles of stop-and-go traffic from Point of the Mountain all the way to 3300 South in South Salt Lake. That is due to an earlier crash, which is now cleared. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, former President Donald Trump has been found in contempt for violating his gag order 9 times. He's been ordered to remove several posts from Truth Social. Second, student protesters tried to camp out at the University of Utah last night until police forced them out of the area. And third, more students are swapping college for trade schools. We're going to look for a high today of 61 degrees, and right now in Salt Lake City it is 48 and sunny. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic. David Dujanovic. David Dujanovic. David Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, 5 police departments from West Valley City to the Salt Lake City Police Department to the University of Utah PD.
If your tents are not taken down, they will be removed by law enforcement.
They're in riot gear. They're warning these pro-Palestinian protesters to take down their tents they'd set up at the University of Utah. And then last night, Dave, at 11 o'clock at night, a line of cops, they move in.
Please back up, you guys. Please kindly back up.
A lot of chanting, a lot of screaming, a lot of profanity that's happening, and police officers are trying to keep people back. And those that refuse to move, the police would surround them, and they had riot gear, they had helmets, they had shields, and they would keep the protesters back, and whoever was refusing to move would get hauled off, would physically get picked up and taken away.
We were watching this. This video was wild. It was wild. I think that's why I was like, once I started looking at the video, Jeff, I said, this is a horrible look. A horrible look of use of force up at the University of Utah. I'm hoping that we can get the University of Utah on the line in the show, because I do have to ask them, what prompted this? I mean, what was it? Was it just the pitching of the tents? Is there some law that got violated regarding trespassing? And does the punishment fit the crime? Is 17 people arrested? Hauled to it sounds like the Salt Lake County Jail, because the organizers recorded this video and said they were waiting outside the jail for fellow protesters.
We're here just waiting outside the jail here in Salt Lake City. We're here to support everybody that got arrested. Thankfully, no Mecha organizers got arrested, but other community members did. It's 1 a.m. We have a bunch of people out here supporting. So the movement is still strong. We're not deterred. We're going to come back, and we're going to come back even stronger.
KSL News Radio's Adam Small is up at the University of Utah near President's Circle. Adam, this all went down last night. What does it look like right now?
Well, Dave, if you did not see it on the news, or you were not here to see it in person, if you just take one secular look at President's Circle this morning, you would have had no idea anything happened. I mean, you've got landscaping crews been out here for about an hour plus or so, just mowing the lawn, making it look nice. Traffic's moving through, students going to class. You got bikes, scooters, the works. I mean, it just looks like an average day up here at the U. I mean, from what we saw in the video to where we're sitting at right now, I mean, very drastic difference in scene I'm looking at.
So does it look like the protesters left any damage behind?
No, it looks completely clean. I don't even see any glass on the ground. Police were saying that some protesters threw bottles at them. One officer apparently got hit in the helmet. I don't even see a speck of glass on the ground, no trash. Everything looks completely fine.
No other protesters, no signs on campus right now that you can see?
Not at this point. I mean, at least here at President's Circle, as I've driven around, I've kind of surveyed the whole plot right up here at the U, and it all looks completely normal. It seemed like police just once they got the green light at 11, from that point until I think it was just shy of 1 a.m., I think they just cleared everything out as quick as possible, and everyone went home after that. I mean, obviously, then some of the protesters went down to the county jail to see if any of their fellow protesters would be let out. But, I mean, at least here on campus, all looks normal.
Do we know anything about the group that organized this protest?
Well, I've been keeping an eye on their Instagram page, and I'm actually trying to talk with some of them this morning. So if you look on their Instagram bio, it says anti-imperialist, anti-colonial, socialist student organization here at the University of Utah. And they've organized rallies and other events and stuff like this before. I mean, just last month, they organized a student walkout in support of Palestine. You also have this happening yesterday. I think earlier this month they also organized a rally to combat transphobia. So this seems like this is something that they're working to get their message heard, and it seems like this organization's been doing this for a little while. And again, I'm currently working to try to contact some of them right now to see if I can learn more about, what would be the breaking points of, hey, we don't feel like we need a protest anymore. And I know that this is something that's we're seeing on college campuses all over the country.
Right.
So I'm really interested to see
Right.
what's the breaking point of where does this potentially stop?
Right. Where do they? Well, and they said something to the effect of they're going to be back. So we don't know what that looks like. I'm sure that's a good question. If you get a hold of them, you'll be asking them. Adam, I want to follow up. I did see a statement, if you will, from the University of Utah stating that 17 people had been arrested and that free speech is welcome at the U, but once they start breaking campus policies and state law, then that goes too far. They weren't specific in that statement as to what policies or laws were broken. And we'll be speaking more in just a moment to our legal analyst, Greg Skordas, about what laws are on the books that would require this kind of use of force. But what is the University of Utah saying besides those typed out words that I saw in our email inbox today? Anything publicly? They held a news conference?
No, it's been pretty quiet this morning. I mean, really, I think the message has been pretty uniform since last night. Like you said, it's been, we support free speech and peaceful protests. But I think once they saw the tents coming out, people trying to basically set up shop here at President's Circle, I think that was the point where they're like, okay, look, we don't want this here. We're going to give you a chance to move. And I think the issue just only got worse when there were a lot of protesters that decided not to leave. And I think the camping thing was the main point. But so far this morning, not a lot from the university.
Yep. And just real quickly, any evidence at all that they broke into buildings, or do we know anything about that?
If I can just give you a quick look around, at least at nearby buildings, it does not look that way at all. I mean, I don't even see damage to President's Circle at all. So it seemed like, at least from the videos and what I'm seeing here today, it does not look like things got really crazy until police did get the green light to move in and were ordered to move them off the property.
Adam Small, thank you for reporting live from the University of Utah near President's Circle. And Debbie, as you were talking about what is going on with the surrounding buildings, in part because this morning at Columbia University, the protesters, the very similar protesters at Columbia University, occupied one of the campus halls on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning. Some broken windows occurred as well. So we're seeing this happen not just at the University of Utah, but Columbia, the University of Texas.
See, I look at breaking in and occupying buildings and maybe blocking entrances as a far different situation than I would camping on a lawn. And perhaps this is because in Salt Lake City, we see so many encampments anyway, because people are camping on sidewalks. You just need to, drive around Salt Lake City for 5 minutes and you see this. So to me, setting up camps in support of your cause, in this case, it was pro-Palestinian protesters last night at the U, to me people just set up encampments. You don't see cops in riot gear showing up on 13 South and State Street because there's an encampment there to push out the homeless. So to me, it's kind of a pick and choose thing. And I've witnessed this for so many years, just being a news reporter, Dave, that public officials and police, in my view, tend to pick and choose which protesters and protest to ignore and kind of let marinate, and which ones to bring out the riot gear and the guns for.
And one of the things that I don't like is the selectivity of what we're going to enforce. If there's a law, if there's a statute, if there's an ordinance, we should enforce it. We shouldn't just arbitrarily ignore one and enforce the other.
But enforcement, and the way they enforced it last night, if this is just over a trespassing violation and a few tenths, that conversation with our legal analyst, Greg Skordas, next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this half hour. Highlands, Cedar Hills, Alpine, Lehigh, Draper, and American Fork are exploring splitting off from the Alpine School District. Highland Mayor Kurt Osler says if the district wanted to split, every voter in the district would have a say, but if select cities pursue a split on their own, only voters within those cities would decide.
When you can get a little bit more local and where you have a local school district, they'll respond to things, or it helps the students. This is not a play or a power play by the city.
Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, Fairfield, and Cedar Fort have looked into something similar. Gen Z is skipping a traditional college experience for trade schools. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla joins us live.
Rising pay, new technology, and a sense of completion are making trades more appealing for younger generations. The number of students enrolled in a vocational-focused community college rose 16% last year, according to the Wall Street Journal. More students are also choosing to study construction and mechanic work. The promise of a secure job track is part of the drive towards trades, especially when more young people are starting to question if the cost of college tuition is actually worth it. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment, the Dow continues its downward trend here. We're off 335 points. That's almost 0.9%. The S&P is down 0.75% with a loss of 37, and the NASDAQ is off almost that same 0.9, down 137 points. Coming up, we've had some real struggles on the roads out there this morning. Last time we looked, it was emergency traffic. We'll double check and see if that's still the case. Next, KSL News Time 9:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When you think of Utah's homeless, who do you see? They are people with names and faces, and many are in dire circumstances. They are men and women, and sometimes children. Many are living on the street, in a car, or in a shelter. Some choose to be homeless. Most do not. Many experience the challenges of addiction or mental illness. All are vulnerable. Homelessness is a crisis, one that affects us all. Utah is building a coalition of community leaders and concerned citizens united to end the plight of homelessness. Homelessness should not mean hopelessness. Learn more at projecthumandignity.org. A message from Utah Impact Partnership.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions, and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
A happy place comes in many colors. One that leaves you feeling refreshed. Something that gets you all fired up. Or gives you the space to chill. Whatever your color, bring happiness home with CertaPro Painters and make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters, that's painting happy. Get started today at CertaPro.com. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
With Soda Weight Loss, it's fun, easy, and exciting to knock out
Big fat loss numbers week after week. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and I was feeling pretty impressed with myself. Then I heard from Chuck.
I let go of about 120 pounds in about 1 year.
Being overweight comes with a whole laundry list of side effects, and none of them are good.
There was times like putting on socks and shoes, you'd be a little winded bending down.
But now?
When people see me, they're just shocked. You know, they always ask you, like, what'd you do?
What makes soda so effective is you have your own personal nutritionist to help you. You're trying to navigate the grocery store or figure out a menu? They're just a text away with real solutions to help you stay on track so you can let go of the weight at home, at work, or wherever you are. That accountability to another person makes all the difference.
These guys, I don't think I would have done it on my own if I didn't have their support.
So go to sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com and find out for yourself. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Those of you familiar with that sound know that we still have emergency traffic and weather together here, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. These aren't new problems, but residual, Heather?
Yeah, they certainly are. We still have some pretty big delays northbound I-15 in Utah County between University Parkway and Orem up to 1600 North, which is on the Orem-Linden border. It's due to a multi-vehicle crash. All the vehicles are still over on the right shoulder, but they had been blocking multiple lanes of travel. And then as you get into the Salt Lake Valley, you're going to have very slow and stop-and-go traffic from Bluffdale all the way up to just before 53rd South in Murray. That was due to a couple of different crashes that have now cleared, but the delays are still hanging on. Revere Health encourages you to schedule your preventative care and annual checkups to help increase the potential to live your most healthy and active life. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner in life. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Be a warm day today, 61. Tomorrow things cool off as the clouds roll back in here and bring with them about a 10% chance of showers. That'll increase to 20% by Thursday, but it's going to cool things off from 61 to 54 tomorrow. Right now, nothing but sunshine out there and 46 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Remember to listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Look, if you're a reporter in this town long enough, Dave, of course you were a photojournalist, a news photographer, you tend to notice a lot of trends. And I have noticed a lot of policing trends in my 30-plus years as a news reporter here in Salt Lake City. I have witnessed police and public officials pick and choose which protests to ignore and let marinate and sort of sit over there for months. And I'm going to talk about one in just a moment when we bring legal analyst Greg Skordas on the line. And then they decide which ones to bring out the riot gear and the guns for. And this show of force last night at the University of Utah, we watched protesters getting dragged by cops in riot gear. Their tents, their protesters are you're going to stay in tents, and the cops are showing up like, not the tents. Not the tents. It better be more than just a trespassing violation that they're pointing to when they take the 17 that they arrested to court. That's my take.
So what do you do? And how do you pick and choose what you're going to enforce? If the campus says 11 o'clock, this is when we're closing the campus and we don't permit any kind of camping overnight, do you just let it happen? Because we've seen what's happened across the country where these protesters have come, they've tried to get them to disband, they refuse to, and now, as of this morning in Columbia, they started to take over, that's the words they're using, they're taking over the halls, a campus hall. So do you wait until it escalates to that level?
Well, to your point, back in 2020, they backed off the protesters in downtown Salt Lake City. Remember when we had cop cars being turned over? And that protest went wildly out of control. In fact, I was called into work that day to be on the air for hours covering that protest. And I think the first words out of my mouth is we've just witnessed what happens when police aren't present and protesters are allowed to rule. The University of Utah issuing a statement saying the protesters violated policy and state law. We're going to talk to the U in the 11 o'clock hour, but what they mean by that. But let's get with Greg Skordas, our KSL legal analyst. What state law was violated here, do you think?
Well, the state law, Debbie, would be like a disorderly conduct, a failing to disperse, perhaps a trespassing. I mean, not serious crimes, but certainly crimes. There's also an ordinance that Salt Lake City has with the University of Utah that allows that you may not camp on the campus. You can't set up tents and camp. And to their credit, law enforcement did give notice. They said, look, you're violating this law. We're giving you notice. You have so many minutes, whatever, to disperse, to get rid of your tents. And the protesters didn't. So to kind of go back on something Dave mentioned a minute ago, at some point, law enforcement just really didn't have a choice but to go in. They issued citations. They took some people out, certainly placed them under arrest. And they were almost all certainly released shortly thereafter. But yeah, I think the police really just didn't have much of a choice.
What usually happens here, Greg? Is this something that campus police tries to advance? Do they coordinate with the administration? And how do so many different police organizations get involved?
Well, so campus police obviously have the first line of jurisdiction. It's within the confines of Salt Lake City, and so Salt Lake City is always available with the campus. In this case, because they chose to bring officers with riot gear, they solicited other law enforcement agencies. I know that some agents from West Valley City were there, but it's kind of your SWAT crew that go out for, violent events and things like that. It may seem like overkill a little bit, but they were trying to get people to disperse in as painless a manner as possible, and a lot of the rioters just didn't comply with anything.
Greg, where I cannot connect the dots on the use of force used last night at the University of Utah against these pro-Palestinian protesters is this. You got Occupy Salt Lake City about a dozen years ago. It's a protest of economic inequality. They camp out. They protest for months, and they were just allowed to camp in parks. I think the parks they used were Pioneer Park and then the park area around the Gallivan Center for months. For months. I think, somebody finally died in one of those tents, and then we got to break this thing up. And then you've got homeless encampments peppered all over the streets of Salt Lake City, the sidewalks, and they're allowed to stay there. I don't see cops showing up in riot gear to break up the homeless encampment. So I am just having a hard time connecting the dots on the difference between those examples I just gave you and what I witnessed go down last night at the University of Utah.
Yeah, and that's a fair analogy, Debbie. It really is. It's public land, it's public property, and the university is certainly part of the public domain. But when you've got students up there, you've got classes in session, you've got Pioneer Park's a little different in that it's sort of open space, and so's the space over there off of Beck Street or wherever the homeless people are at any given time. But people pay money to go to the university, to go to their classes, to be able to move freely about the campus and not feel like they're going to be harassed and that they'll be subject to anti-Semitic chants. And in some cases, this has even become a little bit violent. I've read that one of the police officers was hurt. Things were thrown at the officers. When you get to that point, the police have to do something. And in this case, that's exactly what they did.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining us, KSL legal analyst. And I wonder, Debbie, as you were talking about the Occupy Salt Lake moment, the George Floyd riots, protests that were happening downtown, I wonder if there were lessons learned and they're reacting and have changed policy, or at least the way they're enforcing things.
Feels patchwork to me. It's like a patchwork quilt. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they bring out the riot gear, other times they don't.
It's a fair complaint, Debbie. It's a completely and totally fair complaint, because it's not fair for the protesters as well to think, why are we cracking down now? You didn't give us a single day?
Well, for me, in all seriousness, watching the cops in riot gear at the University of Utah and that video we were watching in our morning meetings, this was a flashback. I was 7 years old when Kent State happened. Students shot dead by the National Guard over their anti-Vietnam War protests.
The guardsmen opened fire on the students.
67 shots. At an anti-Vietnam War protest, 4 dead, 9 injured.
Next, have police not learned from history?
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1907 $10 gold Liberty coins has been found. These gorgeous 1907p gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 100 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling the secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed a 1907 gold Liberty struck at the iconic Philadelphia Mint. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1907 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 117 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-386-8018. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus, a $50 value free with every order. Call 1-800-386-8018 now to secure your 1907p $10 gold Liberty coins before they sell out. That's 1-800-386-8018.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio, or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. You may have heard that mortgage rates have come down over the last several months. While they are still higher than a few years ago, the change has brought some opportunities. Some simple math can help determine whether a refinance will be beneficial to you, even with a higher rate than you currently have. This can happen when you knock off enough other high-interest debt to lower your overall payments. We can go over this with you to see if it makes sense for your situation. We are currently saving many clients several $100s per month in payments using this strategy. And if you refinance using an FHA or VA loan, you will be eligible for a streamlined refinance when rates come down further. That's a win-win. Call us today to see if this would benefit you. Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hello, I'm Case Lawrence, and I'm running for Congress. Our skyrocketing national debt is the greatest risk to the American dream. We can fix America's debt crisis, but not with politicians who are more worried about their next election than America's next generation. I'm not a politician. I'm a problem solver. I hope you'll join me. I'm Case Lawrence, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Case for Congress.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with half-price granite. For a limited time, half-price granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half-price granite, affordable luxury.
Hey, if you want to catch up on the news of the day and make it super quick, like microwave popcorn, get the 3 Things You Need to Know newsletter. It's a collaboration between the awesome reporters at KSL News Radio and our colleagues at KSL 5 Television. It comes straight to your inbox every single day, so you get it in your email. Super simple. You can click on the stories that we give you and get more information if you want to. You can get caught up to speed in minutes. Just text the word inbox to 57500. Again, inbox to 57500.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, several cities in Utah County are exploring splitting off from the Alpine School District. Second, Salt Lake City ranks as one of the several American cities with one of the biggest price gaps between buying and renting a home. And third, camp managers at Dinosaur National Monument have approved new camping fees. It will raise the price around $10. We're going to look for a high today of 61 degrees with all that sunshine. Right now, it's 46. Back now to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Okay, so here's how our morning meeting went this morning. It was Dave, myself, and our awesome producer, Caitlin Johnston, sitting at a really long conference table on the second floor. And we have a big old monitor there. It's a monitor, or is it like a screen?
Yeah.
And Caitlin put up the video for us to watch so we could really absorb what was going on at the University of Utah last night at 11 o'clock when cops, riot gear, 5 police departments show up and start taking people into custody who were, they're protesting regarding the war with Israel and Hamas, pro-Palestinian protesters. And as we were watching that video, Dave, I got sick to my stomach. We were watching protesters getting dragged. I mean, there was a couple of things that you were pointing out as well.
Yeah, I was surprised when the protesters were refusing to move and they would sit down or lay down and sprawl out. The police officers, and this was sometimes in riot gear. It wasn't like everyone was, armed to the teeth here, but they would surround the person and they would haul them off, and they would physically remove. And there was one specifically where 3 police officers, each grabbed a hand, grabbed an arm, lifted a person that was laying down, and grabbed a foot and lifted her off the ground and hauled her off.
You could hear yelling. You could hear.
Please back up, you guys. Please kindly back up.
I'm getting anxiety just listening to that. So I was 7 years old when Kent State went down. National Guard called in. Ohio National Guard called in to deal with anti-Vietnam War protests. Okay. And all kinds of horrible unfolded. So many students shot, 4 dead.
The guardsmen opened fire on the students.
67 shots. At an anti-Vietnam War protest, 4 dead, 9 injured.
We watched that story as well, and we watched what the video from 1970 showed of these students being gunned down. I mean, they're there to protest against the Vietnam War. Ohio National Guard called in, fire, as you heard, 67 shots. And my mind went here immediately. Have police departments, have public officials lost sight of history, of what happens when you send cops in because people are protesting, which is our right, as Americans. I mean, they weren't breaking into buildings up at the University of Utah that we know of. I mean, they and start confronting the protesters, and then things escalate, and they escalate, and they escalate. And Kent State, to me, I thought, would have been an example of how law enforcement and university officials should, under situations where there's maybe camping and trespassing, should not handle the situation. Last night, the video I watched sent my mind right back to that 7-year-old girl who was watching that unfold on one of the 3 television networks that we watched every single night at home.
I think one of the most difficult things is there's a real darned if you do, darned if you don't situation going on here. Okay. And we've seen both of them happening here in Utah. For example, we've talked about the Occupy Salt Lake, where it was very hands-off, and you could see how quickly that protest grew. Think of 2020 after the George Floyd protests. Hands-off approach from police officers as well, and you saw how that spun out of control, and a police car was upended and torched, and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage and graffiti and that was going on. So you can only do hands-off so long, and there are laws in place, and there are things that we employ our police officers to enforce. So why do we have these laws in place if we're going to ask the police officers not to enforce them?
Here's where my mind goes when you say that. There has been such a patchwork approach to how our law enforcement officials and our public officials handle protests. Sometimes it's hands-off, sometimes it's hands-on, sometimes it's bring out the guns, bring out the riot gear. Other times it's just let them camp. Just let them camp in the parks. It's no big deal. They're okay. They're protesting social injustice, economic injustice. Leave them there. That it makes me feel that cops really don't know how the best way to approach it is. And they haven't necessarily taken lessons from 54 years ago. And actually, I was probably like 3 or 4 when I was when that video was being played over and over again of Kent State. And certainly I've watched it since then as a little girl. I mean, that was such a huge story in the 1970s and beyond that I thought that it would have been a lesson that that we would have a more concise and predictable approach. And we don't. We just simply don't, Dave.
And this can change from city to city, from organization to organization. If the university comes out and tells campus police, like, let them camp, we're going to ignore this, well, that might change from university president to university president. One may be very willing to let the camping happen. Others may crack down on it. And one thing that has happened recently here in Utah and Salt Lake specifically is there is a concerted effort to crack down on some of this stuff, to crack down on homelessness, on illegal camping. There has been pressure from the state legislature. And in fact, we even know this safety element and supporting police came up in the most recent NHL purchase and where the Jazz and the hockey team is going to play, because there were some concerns from the state legislature that Salt Lake City is not doing enough to support police and crack down on crime.
Now, let me say, Dave, if they were crossing a line, taking over buildings, what we've got going on in, at Columbia University, broke into a building on campus overnight, barricading themselves, or what they've got going on in Portland.
With the breaching of the library and the fortification going on at the library, this has now become a criminal event, and it's no longer considered to be a public order or free speech event.
I do believe there are lines that should not be crossed in protest. Absolutely should not be crossing those lines where you're breaking in buildings and damaging property, flipping over police cars and lighting them on fire. Absolutely not. But where it's peaceful and they're pitching tents, they've got to bring me more information as to why those arrests were necessary. And in fact, we're going to speak to the University of Utah in the 11 o'clock hour.
And we will learn more and continue to follow this story. But right now, up at the President's Circle, everything's clear. It looks like nothing happened. Nothing to see here, folks.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Tammy Kikuchi. KSL's top story this hour. A handful of cities in Utah County are exploring splitting off from the Alpine School District.
Highland, Cedar Hills, Alpine, Lehigh, Draper, and American Fork are entering an interlocal agreement where they will explore splitting off into their own district. Saratoga Springs, Fairfield, Eagle Mountain, and Cedar Fort have been exploring something similar on their own. Highland City Mayor Kurt Osler says if the school board voted to pursue a split, the final decision would come down to every voter in the school district versus
if we do an interlocal agreement with the cities, which I mentioned they're going to be up there in that northern Utah County area, it will be the residents there that will have that opportunity to vote if they would like to do a new district reformation.
The school board is meeting this morning, and they're expected to discuss what they want to do in terms of the district's future. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
The front management for Utah's new hockey team is busy preparing for the upcoming NHL draft this summer. Team General Manager Bill Armstrong joined the KSL Sports Zone yesterday afternoon, saying the team is in a good position.
I think the advantage the people in Salt Lake is they didn't buy an expansion team where, you got 32, 33-year-old players coming in. You've got 23-year-old players, and they're exciting players to watch. And if we do this process right, we get a chance to be good for about 10 straight years.
Utah's new team was going through a rebuilding process in Arizona, collecting a large number of draft picks. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 333 points, S&P is down 39, and the NASDAQ is down 141.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Everyone's house is different, but they're all the same in one way. We've all got those places where the Wi-Fi just won't go. For you, maybe it's the attic. For me, it's my basement. Well, if you had wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you could worry less about these dead spots. Finally. With wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you get fast speeds throughout your home, reliable connection in every room, and power for all of your devices, even when everyone is online. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, new customers can get started with gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY. Or visit a store today.
For over 10 years, IVC has been holding an event to celebrate women. Mark your calendar for Saturday morning, May 4th, to attend IVC's annual Mother's Day event, where you'll receive a complimentary assessment, which includes an ultrasound exam and consultation with one of IVC's board-certified physicians. If you're experiencing any pelvic or leg achiness, heaviness, or pain, this event is a perfect opportunity to get some answers and some relief. Give yourself the attention you deserve. Pelvic congestion syndrome, or pelvic venous congestion, is an important but often overlooked cause of chronic pelvic pain. And chronic leg achiness and pain are often symptoms of varicose veins. Don't worry anymore. The physicians at IVC can help. IVC has been named the best vein center in Utah Valley for over 10 years in a row. Don't delay. Space is limited. Go to ivein.com or call 801-379-6700. IVC. Life starts when the pain stops.
Febreze. Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week. Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We still have a bit of delay northbound I-15 in Utah County. This is between 5th East and American Fork and the Pioneer Crossing exit. That's because the Pioneer Crossing road over I-15 is down to 1 lane instead of 3 lanes, and that's causing huge delays for drivers in that area. Police are also just in the final cleanup stages of a crash. Redwood Road at 3500 South in West Valley City. Most of the lanes are now open there. Box Elder County has gone to the birds. Spring migration is here at Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. See what visitors are chirping about with Box Elder County. For info, activities, and more, visit boxeldercounty.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is dry with mostly sunny skies and highs around 60 degrees. Tonight, a small cold front drops in, taking Wednesday's highs into the 50s, and another front moves in Thursday night into Friday. The weekend looks warmer, though, with highs in the 70s. Right now, under partly cloudy skies, 48 degrees. I'm Tammy Kikuchi from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we know Utah County, Dave, is booming. I mean, at some point, the center of the universe is going to be Utah County when it comes to population. It's grown like, what did I wrote? I wrote this down earlier this morning. I'm trying to remember. I think it's like 30%, 32% growth in Utah County from 2010 to 2021. Wow.
It's massive.
Yeah, so the population is booming, and so is the airport in a good way. That probably didn't come out right. It's booming in a good way. More flights than I've ever seen before. You got Breeze Airways. It seems like they're always expanding flights. Have you flown them?
No.
I haven't either. I'm debating on
Though
flying
I kind
them.
of lose track of some of the discount.
Oh, like
flights.
Spirit and Frontier.
Was this Spirit, Frontier, or Breeze? Maybe I have.
Yeah, so you haven't done the Febreze route. That's what I always think of. No, I think it's it's a great option. And then American Airlines, we caught a story last week on KSL TV. American Airlines is later this year is going to have a couple of flights a day out of the regional airport in Provo. They're going to go to Dallas, Fort Worth, and to my hometown of Phoenix. So I'm excited about this.
Okay, so this was a big shocker for me because my son and I flew down to Phoenix to go to a concert, a rock concert.
You're such a cool dad.
It was
That's
cool
a really
dad,
cool. That
man.
is a cool dad move.
We're going to go check out the Chili Peppers. But we were looking how to get down there because that drive, as you well know, way too long to drive.
It is.
So we were looking, and we found some very good prices, maybe $150 round trip to get down there. And then I saw a flight going out of Provo, the Provo airport. It was $49 round trip. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I've never in my life thought, let's drive down to Provo to catch a flight.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
It was a third of the cost.
That's great.
Down there. Here was the problem. It was only 2 days. It was like Thursday and Sunday.
Oh.
So the days and the times didn't work for us, but because there were only two options. It was like we fly out at 10 a.m. on Thursday and
I
we
see.
leave
Limited options for flights.
Very limited. But as far as affordability, It was what was already a good price. Debbie, $50 round trip is $25 each way.
That's incredible.
I mean, that was so. Yeah, I would have driven down, parked in Provo, which is an hour plus away from my home, because it was such a great deal.
Personally, I love regional airports. Flew them a lot over the years, especially into Idaho, more so into Montana. They're great. They're fast. I've always found, parking is super simple. Even fly to Orange County. I think it's John Wayne. Love that airport. It's a regional airport. It totally looks like it's right out of the 1950s. The design. And even the
does everyone
the
wear
luggage.
a suit on the flight?
I know. I love flying into regional airports. It's easy. It's quick. It doesn't feel it's not as anxiety ridden. And I'm happy that Provo Airport has taken off. So the director of the Provo Airport, Brian Torgerson, on the line with us. Hi.
Good morning.
We said all kinds of good things about your airport. So tell us something bad.
Well, I wish I could.
I know. So how many airlines do you have? Commercial airlines you have flying out of there right now, Brian?
So currently, at the moment, we have Allegiant Airlines, who is our long-standing commercial service provider since 2013. So Allegiant's been here over 10 years. Has really hung with us through the early days at the Provo Airport, and then now has a base of operations here. They base 4 to 5 aircraft here every night. And their flight crews, their mechanics, their flight attendants all live and play and work here out of Provo. And then Breeze, which is a Utah-based company, headquartered in Cottonwood Heights there in the Salt Lake Valley, is our second provider, and they've been serving Provo since 2022. And then, as you mentioned earlier, announcement from American Airlines will begin service with 3 daily flights, 2 to Dallas, 1 to Phoenix, beginning October 7th.
That's great.
So we're super excited about that option, and loved hearing your comments on our carriers and the services provided here at the Provo Airport.
So why the rapid growth, or how did that change? I would assume that was not an accident. It just didn't trip, stumble, and fall into your lap. Walk us through why it went from being, such a small airport to something that is growing, and how big are you ready to grow?
Sure. So the process really started back when, obviously, John Curtis was mayor of Provo for a number of years. And he was actually responsible for getting commercial service started in Provo. And kind of the limiting factor was our terminal facility back in those days. We operated out of a one-room facility. Our baggage claim was in a carport outside. It was really kind of ghetto. And then when Mayor Kaufusi took office when John Curtis went to the House of Representatives, as mayors normally do, they are looking through master plans and general plans and plans for growth to see, kind of get her pulse on what's going on in the city. She asked an important question that kind of has shaped what's happened here at the Provo, and the question was, what's magically going to happen in 20 years that can't happen today? And so that led us on a journey of exploring the opportunity to construct a new terminal building. And that, $65 million project later, we have a brand new terminal facility that opened in July of 2022. And that has really opened the floodgates here at the airport, providing finally an actual alternative for airlines to come and operate in Provo.
That's great. That's great news.
Brian Torgerson, thank you for joining us. Best of luck, Provo Airport Director.
I would fly out of Provo in a heartbeat. I know there's flights out of Ogden too, and nothing against Salt Lake International. I love flying out of that airport. I think they got a lot of great restaurants too. By the way, with the upgrade and everything, the upgrades are great at that airport. I just find regional airports, can I use the word delightful and relaxing to fly out of, compared to what you go through at a major international airport?
Yeah, I think it is a different experience because it is smaller. Perhaps you don't get lost in the TSA lines. I've enjoyed flying in and out of regional airports. It doesn't change my experience that much as far as flight. I don't feel like the safety's they skimp on safety at all. So I guess I just haven't branched out my thinking to look at Ogden or Provo to say, I wonder if they could get me to LA.
It feels like they're starting to play with the big boys now. I mean, I know it's not as many flights. Like you said, you got to be, they might be, flying out on a Tuesday and then it's not coming back till Sunday. So that's something to look at. But with American Airlines now going live down at the Provo Airport in October, you've already got Allegiant and Breeze. Oh, I think it's worth it. In fact, I know what I want to talk to you about tomorrow, right about this time on the show, is the ups and downs of flying are they called discount airlines? You've had that experience. And I've just read a story about that. And there's some hacks to flying the discount airlines that can make them more worth it. There's also some issues. So we'll dive into that tomorrow. Straight ahead, Dave caught an article in the Salt Lake Tribune. It looked like a really, really in-depth report. And you came into work this morning. You're like, with the help of the Salt Lake Tribune, I figured out what they're going to do with the new stadiums for the NHL and for the Jazz.
Because we all had a pretty good idea of what might be happening, but how we got there and exactly the latest plan, the excitement, is big news for downtown Salt Lake. And I got to tell you, you got to listen to the story about the panic that sent all of this into motion, and that panic came from the Utah State Legislature and the Salt Lake Mayor.
Can't wait. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
If you have been putting off a procedure that you know you need done because you've been walking around with pain in a hip or a knee, or you haven't been able to play tennis or ride a bike because of a shoulder, because you were fearful that it'll have you out for the season or maybe out for the rest of your life of doing something you love, listen closely, because the future of medicine is here in the Valley at QC Kinetics. They are the nation's leader in the most exciting revolution in pain management you've seen in decades. It's regenerative medicine. Surgery, steroids, drugs, these may no longer be your best option. You need to call QC Kinetics today. They're under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, who's been at this for 20 years in clinical work, tons of research, teaching, and publishing, and he wants you to get that relief without surgery or downtime. Do this today. Call QC Kinetics for a free consultation. 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987.
The jurors are taking notes.
Daybell sat with his hands crossed, staring down both witnesses.
And watching screens as evidence is presented.
New information that hasn't come out in the case before now.
Get updates mornings, afternoons, and when they break. Amy Kobabe is in the Boise courtroom all week long. The trial of Chad Daybell on KSL News Radio.
You've been trying to hold off, but you think it's time you might need a new roof? Best move you could make is to call the highest-rated roofing contractor in Utah. IWC Roofing has been working up there for 27 years. They offer the best warranty in the business, backed by Owens Corning. What's most amazing is they'll replace your entire roof in one day. Instead of Chuck with a truck showing up for a week of chaos and mayhem, you get professionals. IWC Roofing is in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. They'll even send pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting for your hard-earned money. Now, you think a highly skilled Owens Corning Platinum Certified contractor would charge more, but no. IWC offers a better price, and if you call now, they'll give you an extra $2,000 off your quote. $2,000 off. So call IWC Roofing for a free estimate, 801-232-5690, 232-5690, or visit IWCRoofingUtah.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
We want to give you the best, most important news stories every single day, so we've grabbed and curated, with the help of KSL Television here at KSL News Radio, the 3 things you need to know. It's a newsletter. You can get it in your email every single day. Text the word inbox to 57500. Text the word inbox to 57500.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tammy Kikuchi. First, a new study says it's cheaper to rent than buy in Utah. Second, college-bound students are thinking about the value of trade schools versus college. And third, the stock markets are struggling to get into the positive zone. Right now, 46 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
So Dave caught the story in the Salt Lake Tribune this morning. They did an excellent job giving us the insights that I have been itching to find out about regarding the dual arenas that are going to be planted somewhere in Salt Lake City. The NHL team moving from Phoenix, of course, now that Ryan Smith owns them, and then the Jazz, the Forever Jazz. But it's not going to be a dual arena, it sounds like.
No? Well, okay, there's so much going on here, Deb.
There's so much. What do you want to start
with? And you
with?
said you were itching for information. Yeah. You were downright antsy. You were downright, you were antsy. You wanted the information.
So can I just give my hot take on that real quickly?
Okay.
You know, this all rolled out in the 11th hour of the Utah legislature.
Yes.
Somebody's going to argue and say it was a week before the end of the session, but it was a surprise drop toward the end of the session. And then we got a lot of cross signals in terms of how they're going to fund the MLB stadium on the west side and fund that through hotel taxes. And then they ended up not going. That was messy. And then they unveiled I woke up the next morning and I thought, is this a joke? Like, did somebody accidentally tweet out about an NHL arena? Did they mean an MLB arena? And we come into work and they're not joking. Now they're going to ask taxpayers, for an increase, to pay an increase. Not ask, they're going to tell us to pay more money in sales tax in the Salt Lake City area. Fund an NHL arena or facility or whatever, a new look for downtown, and we don't have any details. So kudos to the Trib.
Yeah, this was such, you described it perfectly. We had so much time, money, focus, energy going toward the Major League Baseball stadium and that proposal on a team that might sort of maybe decide to come to Salt Lake 6 to 8 years from now. And then almost overnight, we'd heard rumors that Ryan Smith, the Jazz owner, was trying to recruit a National Hockey League team. We didn't know what team that was going to be. And then all of a sudden, almost overnight, boom, we get a team. But how we got there and how it turned from a hockey team ending up downtown Salt Lake playing alongside the Jazz started off basically with what I consider a threat. And it was in the nicest way possible. Threat's probably too harsh a word, but basically what Ryan Smith, the Jazz owner, according to the Salt Lake Tribune, is reporting is that, and he was pretty open about this, he said, if we get a hockey team, they need a place to play. The Delta Center was not built for hockey, so we're going to probably build a dedicated NHL stadium. He said, quote, it's pretty easy to go to a blank piece of land down south. So the rumors started coming out that that hockey team may not be playing downtown Salt Lake. It may be moving down. Stuart Adams, the president of the Senate, said they'd heard locations in Provo, South Salt Lake, Harriman, Sandy. None of that is downtown Salt Lake. So that's where all the rumors came from. And then the ownership team was looking at it and saying, okay, well, we could have 100 acres, 5,000 housing units. They go from Salt Lake to Utah County. This could be a massive development, a sports institution on this blank slate of land. This is where the panic starts setting in.
Yeah, I see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I see what's happening.
We're moving.
Here. Moving out of Salt Lake City, and Salt Lake City has been having a hard time holding on to, fun. I guess what I would say, it's just not the same Salt Lake City, in my view, downtown that it was pre-pandemic. I was just down toward the Gallivan Center a couple of weeks ago for a meeting, walking around. I walked around for about an hour because, of course, I got there an hour early. Dave, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, dead on a weekday. So I can sense the panic. We can't afford to lose anything else. We've lost the people. We can't afford to lose the fun.
And Ryan Smith says the Jazz probably go where hockey goes.
Oh.
So that's not so much of a veiled threat as it is. Listen, if I'm building down in Harriman, Sandy, Silicon Slopes, and Provo,
makes sense for him.
I'm not going to try to run two different arenas, billion-dollar arenas.
So that's where we get to anxiety mode?
Yes, and this is where the anxiety sets in, because if you're going to build down there, the Jazz are probably going to go with them as well, and everybody starts panicking. And again, the Trib interviewed Stuart Adams, the Senate president. He said, look around the United States. Look at Los Angeles. It's imploding. San Francisco, imploding. Mm-hmm. Chicago, New York, imploding. Portland, imploding. Like these are the vibrant downtown, can't miss big cities of America.
I was in Portland not too long ago, and I was just shocked at the turn of events there. The time when I was there before, it was a great downtown, super fun, lots of places to stop into to eat. I just noticed just a huge turn in the feel of the city in Portland. To some degree, Seattle, although, I mean, maybe I haven't been to Seattle enough, but I can see where we're going with this, is that we're gonna be on the heels of those cities and what's happening.
And this is what happens in state legislatures and cities. They see the development and the money following these big teams. Wherever the team is, that's where the development goes. That is a tale that happens all the time across the country. So all of a sudden they start stepping in and saying, what is it going to take to keep the hockey team downtown? And really what the real panic is, what are you going to do with the Jazz? Because as excited as we are about hockey, the Jazz rule this state. They have 50 years of runway. They've developed this passion. We love the Jazz. So you can't lose one without losing the other. So they start putting forth their best foot forward and saying, okay, how can we incentivize you, new hockey owners, Jazz owners, how can we incentivize you to stay? And how can we make this work for both the city and your team? Because it's very unpopular, and this is every poll out there, very unpopular to say, we're going to give billionaire owners billions of dollars to build a stadium. That is just a very unpopular thing to do, and there's not a lot of support. So they had to figure out this safe place of where we can say, we want to encourage you to stay without directly giving billionaires $1 billion in new stadiums. What can we do? And they settled on this redevelopment, a revitalization zone of, we'll throw some money at the arena, give you some tax breaks, but we want to enhance and revitalize all of downtown. with this new plan. And I'm going to break down what that plan looks like in the very next
Okay,
segment.
because I'm just holding on by a bobby pin over here. Like, where is this thing going to go? That's the one thing I want to know. Like, am I going to come in to work in a year or two and find a bulldozer sitting in your seat there? You know what I mean? Where they're ripping down the building.
We thought it was a chance. We thought there was a chance that Broadcast House was on the chopping block.
Start with Dave's seat. Start with Dave's seat. Okay, so you're going to tell us straight ahead where the Tribune is reporting this swath of land. And if I want to know, this is what I want to know. Even more than that. Are we going to get 2 stadiums or 1? 2 stadiums or 1? You've got the details on that. All right. Hats off to the Tribune for helping us figure out what in the world is going on with the new NHL or NBA arena in downtown Salt Lake City. I know one thing's for sure. The first line that I read in the Tribune article, Dave, that you've been talking about is that the NHL, was it the commissioner?
Yeah, Gary Bettman.
He said, I don't want to move a team to Salt Lake City and have lots of problems with stadiums.
No arena drama.
You don't want arena drama, and that's because the Coyotes had suffered years of arena drama in the Valley of the Sun down there in Maricopa County. So they're here now. And guess what? It sounds like they're not going to have any arena drama. So I can't wait for your full explanation of that next.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tammy Kikuchi. KSL's top local story this hour. A new bank rate report says it's much easier for home buyers to rent in the United States than it is to own. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
The in a nutshell view here is the average home costs 37% more if you want to buy. And CNBC shares there are 5 American metros where that gap is greater than 50%, Salt Lake City being one of them. The state capital's price gap is sitting at 89%.
Many Americans still believe home owning is still crucial to the American dream despite the high prices and mortgage rates. Gen Z is skipping a traditional college experience for trades.
Rising pay, new technology, and a sense of completion are making trades more appealing for younger generations. The number of students enrolled in a vocational-focused community college rose 16% last year, according to the Wall Street Journal. More students are also choosing to study construction and mechanic work. The promise of a secure job track is part of the drive towards trades, especially when more young people are starting to question if the cost of college tuition is actually worth it. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 349 points. S&P also down 39 points. And the NASDAQ, continuing the downtrend, 145 points. Coming up, the weather is taking us on a roller coaster ride. KSL weather and traffic are next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I've loved about my Connecticut water softener is, number one, it keeps our skin soft. We struggle with dry skin in our family and did for a number of years. And it wasn't until we got a water softener into our home that we noticed a huge difference, a tangible difference. And Connecticut water softeners have been just top of the line for so many years. And we said, okay, is this an investment we want to make for our family? So we had Connecticut come out to our house, show us the difference, and it affects not just our skin, showers, baths, stuff like that, but laundry, dishes, cleaning, expensive appliances, all can be prolonged with soft water because Utah has some of the hardest water in the entire country. They have a very easy ergonomical bin. It's like knee high, so you don't need to lift that 40-pound bag of rock salt to dump it in and throw your back out. They've designed everything so professionally, so well. It just, on every level, we've loved our Connecticut water softener. Give them a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Common Spirit Health has expert orthopedic care that gets you back at it and back to your best. Find skilled orthopedic physicians at Common Spirit locations who specialize in general orthopedics and repair of hips, knees, shoulders, and hands, so you can return to running races or chasing the grandkids. Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Orthopedic care with human kindness is here. Visit mountain.commonspirit.org.
I just elevated my checking account with Utah Community Credit Union. Tim, I am so blown away at what I get with my elevated checking account at UCCU. I get so many benefits. I get cell phone protection and roadside assistance. The one that blows me away the most is telehealth. I actually get zero copay telehealth with my checking account from UCCU.
Did you know you also get a 0.25% loan discount? It's one of the many things. And if you like to travel or you're on the road quite a bit, a free ATM nationwide, 30,000 ATM locations that you can use while you're out.
Utah basketball star Walker Kessler and Utah Community Credit Union have come together to announce this brand new elevated checking account with more benefits, more savings, more online protections than ever before.
Yeah, there's even something for dark web monitoring, which I have never heard of before, but you can find out more by just going to uccu.com.
And open an elevated checking account online or stop by any branch.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, the emergency pothole repair on Pioneer Crossing right above I-15 has concluded, so all the lanes are now open. Delays are clearing out for people that were northbound I-15 trying to exit onto Pioneer Crossing. And right now we don't have any other delays on the I-15 corridor, northbound or southbound. Getting into downtown Salt Lake, the east and west side belt routes are also traveling at speed. Attention Wasatch Front businesses and property managers. Have winter conditions damaged your parking lot asphalt or concrete surfaces? Call GoPave Utah to get on their schedule. GoPaveUtah.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, today is dry with mostly sunny skies and highs around 60. Tonight, a small cold front drops in and takes highs to the 50s with showers possible. The weekend looks warmer with highs in the 70s. Right now, under partly cloudy skies, 50 degrees. I'm Tammy Kikuchi from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
The Salt Lake Tribune did a very in-depth article that caught Dave's attention, and he's like, I got to talk to you about this today on the air. All about kind of the behind-the-scenes drama, if you will, going on with the NHL arena, NBA arena in the downtown Salt Lake area, and I was so glad that you caught this article and that you pitched it this morning, Dave, because I've been spinning for weeks wondering where in the world they're going to put this arena/arenas with the $1 billion in tax money that they're going to get from the sales tax increase in Salt Lake City. So did the article get into the weeds on that?
Oh, it's so weedy.
Oh, good.
It's such good stuff. Like, well done. Like, good job. There was the threat to move the teams, which led to the panic, which is like whatever it takes to keep the Jazz and hockey in downtown Salt Lake.
They weren't going to move them far, though. It sounded like maybe Harriman or Point of the Mountain, where the Point is now, right? It wasn't like moving. They're not moving to Vegas or something like that. It was going to stay in the Salt Lake County area, or maybe Provo.
As far south as Provo.
Okay.
That's the first time I heard Provo.
So that was kind of the threat.
And and then here is the plan. And one of the plans, one of the requirements, really pointed a finger at Salt Lake City and the Mayor Mendenhall. In fact, Representative John Hawkins said the biggest problem is the mayor of Salt Lake City's lack of respect for policing of her city. And they had to get and require more from the mayor. That's what Representative Hawkins said. So we are requiring more of her as well, saying we need more police presence, more safety assurances, that if we keep the Jazz and the hockey team downtown, there's going to be some support.
Okay, so I'm going to take you off course just a little bit on this. What we saw last night at the University of Utah with police in riot gear taking arresting, removing protesters from President's Circle. We've been talking about it all morning long.
If your tents are not taken down, they will be removed by law enforcement.
And that thing got nasty, wild, and very ugly, in my view, last night up at the University of Utah. So I wonder if that's the kind of use of police presence or force that lawmakers are nudging, pushing Salt Lake City to engage in.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
It's
hard not to draw a line from A to B, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought the exact same thing.
Okay. So they want more police presence and if necessary, force to deal with crime.
Exactly. Okay. So the plan is, and this was where the NHL said, we don't want arena drama, and in part why it may have taken a little extra time to get this all done, said, okay, we're going to stay at the Delta Center. So plan number one is hockey is going to be at the Delta Center. So instead of buying or building a brand new hockey arena, we're going to retrofit, or we're going to enhance the Delta Center, spend millions and millions of dollars, but my guess, hundreds of millions of dollars to optimize the Delta Center for hockey. Because it's not a great place for hockey. There's obstructed views that they have to address. So, number one, that they're going to play at the Delta Center.
Okay.
Ryan Smith has already said the Jazz go probably where hockey goes.
So you think it's going to be a dual purpose arena?
It will be dual purpose, according to the most recent plan. So it's going to be a dual purpose. They're going to dump a ton of money into the Delta Center, make it optimal. But the legislature said in the plan, we authorize you to take up basically 10 city blocks that will be, quote unquote, roughly centered around the Delta Center.
What does that mean?
I have no idea how far, what the plans I'm looking at is
a mile, more than a mile.
It's 100 acres. So that's what it's authorized.
8 city blocks a mile? I mean, what does that mean exactly? Which direction?
Okay, so the plan is, apparently they haven't talked about west. So Gateway area, that is off the table. Any of the plans.
They need to figure out how to get stores and restaurants into Gateway.
This might do it.
Yeah, that's my view. You got to revitalize Gateway with retail experiences and restaurants.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
They're going east. They're heading toward City Creek.
The Opera?
Okay, Abravna Hall plays into this. So the rough plan
Not
is
the Opera.
Oh, Deb, that's just step 4 of this plan.
I will say the last time I walked by a Bravenel Hall, I was like, it doesn't scream opera at you when you walk by that.
Ghost town.
Well, no, it's like a brownish sort of brick building.
It's got all the glass.
Maybe they can give them a new.
I had my senior prom there. Yeah, at a Bravenel Hall. Yeah,
with the big velvet curtains.
45 years old. But okay, so you have the Delta Center. If you go directly east of the Delta Center, this is where you have the Salt Palace Convention Center.
Right.
So there's 500,000 square feet of exhibition space at the Delta or at the Salt Palace, right? So what they would do is renovate the Delta Center and then take up this area directly east of the Delta Center and redevelop it. So I'm assuming bulldozing a lot of this, rebuilding it with restaurants, housing, entertainment, almost as a funnel into the Delta Center.
We call that a corridor.
A corridor into it's a funnel. We're funneling everything into the hockey and jazz place. So you got this corridor leading into basically from City Creek, and then you have the renovations of this new city block into the Delta Center.
Okay, so now you're going to ask me what I think of this.
Okay, Bravenel Hall. We don't know if it's going to be torn down, if it's going to be moved, if it's going to be renovated, but that it's entirely possible.
In the way, right? There's a lot of
it's
things
in the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in the way. I'm looking across the street, kitty corner from where we're at. Is that the Radisson? I've stayed there a few times.
Mm-hmm.
During snowstorms. It's not a weird thing. I stay there during snowstorms, so I don't have to drive in from the middle of nowhere, South Jordan, in a blizzard. Okay, that's a lot bigger, first of all, than I thought it would be. They're going to have to tear out a lot of concrete.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I have a little bit of mixed emotions about maybe some of that's nostalgia about the Delta Center. I'm glad it's staying, but on the other hand, I was thinking, I thought we'd get out for this $1 billion.
Right.
I thought we'd get a brand spanking a new one. I thought we'd get two.
So, can I address that?
Yeah,
that
go for
part of the legislature has basically set aside about $1 billion. $1 billion doesn't build you not one stadium. If you took every penny of that and put it into a new stadium costs $1.5 to $2.5 billion.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
Newsflash: I wasn't expecting that $1 billion would cover the stadium cost. I was expecting for Ryan Smith to throw in some money too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just saying you could take all of it and every single penny of it, and then Ryan Smith would still have to kick in or raise whatever it is another $1 billion. So that money would disappear in a hurry. It's part of the reason why they love the idea of renovating the Delta Center, probably costing several $100 million. Again, my estimation, not anyone else's. But that leaves the rest of the money that can be used to truly enhance and revitalize this area of downtown. So the more money you save on the stadium side, the more that money can be reinvested into the revitalization efforts of housing, entertainment, restaurants, fun, all of that stuff.
All right. Well, at least we know. We got more information today than we had yesterday. Thanks so much to the Salt Lake Tribune. Appreciate the reporting there and giving us the insight on what in the world's going on with the new stadium development in the downtown Salt Lake City area. Straight ahead, Amy Kobabe went up to Boise, Idaho for us, and she's been covering the Chad Daybell trial. And something really weird happened yesterday in court with the testimony. Something weird came out about Chad Daybell, and she's going to tell us what that was next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
When the weather warms up, it's like a stampede, except instead of dust stirred up by hundreds of hooves, it's a cascade of phone calls to Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Kaplan. Soon as the sun shines and the snow's gone, people want new windows and frames from Utah's #1 custom window maker, and the wait for installation grows longer. But right now, you can get near the front of the line by calling for a quote and get $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more. That's on top of the incredible savings for the highest quality double-pane windows and frames, any style, any color. See, at Advanced Window Products, they actually build the windows here in Utah, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. There's no middleman, and they can pass the savings on to you. They even offer buy now, pay later. So get in before the wait grows longer and get the $2,500 off. Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Join KSL and Tim and Amanda this Friday from 3 to 5 at Salt Lake MPS store at 1600 Empire Road. MPSstore.com.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first,
Take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
You love the feel behind the wheel.
You'll love the new 2024 Acura MDX from Jody Wilkinson Acura. During the Spring into Performance event, Acura is offering 1.9% APR. Lease the 2024 MDX only $589 monthly. For offer details, text the word Acura to 57500.
Jody Wilkinson.
Downtown.
Acura.
1111 South Main. You'll love the new 2024 Acura RDX from Jody Wilkinson Acura. During the Spring into Performance event, Acura is offering 1.9% APR. Lease the 2024 RDX Super Handling All-Wheel Drive only $459 monthly. For offer details, text the word Acura to 57500.
Jody Wilkinson.
Downtown.
Acura.
1111 South Main.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tammy Kikuchi. First, protesters at the University of Utah were dispersed by police overnight. Second, questions over whether a gubernatorial candidate's running mate is eligible to run. And third, fees at Dinosaur National Park are rising due to increased visitation impacts on the park. Right now, 50 degrees in downtown Salt Lake City under partly cloudy skies. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, apparently I had a massive brain cramp just a few minutes ago, so I need to make a quick correction. Thanks to my friend Carol Makita, who's texting me to remind me that the Utah Opera does not perform at Abravanel Hall. Hello. I know it's the symphony. So when we were talking about the possible project, the areas that could be affected by the Delta Center or the NHL and NBA and all that other stuff, kept saying, Dave, the opera at the Bravenel Hall, and Carol chimed in and said that they perform at Capitol Theater. Deb, you're thinking of the symphony.
Symphony. Yeah, the symphony could be affected.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I could just have those dork moments. So thank you all for your texts.
Our mind was in basketball and hockey, folks.
Well, no, I just mentally had my head in the space that the opera performs at a Bravenel Hall, and I was wrong.
The trial of Chad Daybell. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
I think what Amy Kobabe heard in court yesterday was so... I mean, people maybe who know Chad Daybell would say it was just so weird. But I want to play just what we heard on Utah's Morning News this morning. And maybe those who knew him say this is really weird. Maybe others would say it was totally in his character. But I just thought, wow, that testimony, that guy is weird.
Chad Daybell sat stoic and focused as two relatives of Tammy Daybell took the stand. He didn't move a muscle or look away once as they told of their relationship with Tammy and how they were shocked at Chad's reaction to her death. One cousin said she expected him to be more sad at the funeral, but instead he was talking bad about Tammy, saying things like she was hard to live with. Daybell was much more relaxed earlier in the day, casually scrolling through a laptop as an FBI agent testified. He walked through the locations of Chad, Lori Vallow Daybell, and her brother Alex Cox on the days when the two children were last seen. He said Cox was on Daybell's property several times the following days, exactly where the children's bodies were found. Reporting.
Remember, Daybell's accused of murdering J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and his wife, Tammy Daybell.
Amy Kobabe live on the line from Boise. You're out of court today. No court today, Amy?
No court today. There's a funeral here for a sheriff's deputy in Ada County, and so there's just not a lot of officers that can, I guess, go to court. And so it's not a bad day to be off, though. I'm not complaining about not being in a murder trial.
Well, certainly, and I'm going to look it up, but I think that Ada County sheriff's deputy was shot in the line of duty, if I recall. I'll look that up while we're talking. So that's tragic. We'll get more information on that. But certainly they when they can't have law enforcement in court, they usually do have law enforcement in court. So talk about this odd behavior that you heard during testimony yesterday of Chad Daybell at his wife's funeral. I mean, to me, that just says, it just sounded like he didn't even love his wife when he's saying stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really weird. So this was the cousin of Tammy Daybell that testified, that she was really kind of shocked. Obviously, this is someone who loves her cousin. Said things at the funeral that really were surprising from Chad Daybell. She said that, he said she was not easy to live with. She had depression. It was really hard. Things you wouldn't expect from, a mourning husband in just days after his wife passed away tragically and unexpectedly. And she was on the stand crying multiple times. And then I look over and it's kind of a weird setup where Chad is sitting directly facing kind of across this courtroom, the jury, and has a really good view of the kind of the testimony spot there where people are asked questions. And he is just completely still staring her down. And his attorney, even at moments, is kind of like staring off on looking at the ceiling, looking around the room. And Chad is very intensely holding still and looking at this cousin. So a very intense moment and really kind of sad to think about, this poor family who lost this woman. And, Chad was just not as sad as they expected in those moments, telling of his kind of mental state at that point.
Did you notice that when this witness, this cousin of Tammy, was giving her testimony, was she unnerved at all by this intense stare that was coming from Daybell?
No, I really don't think she was. She really was paying close attention to the prosecution, to the state, and those questions, because this prosecutor is very friendly, very good at kind of trying to make her feel comfortable, even taking his time to let her kind of cry and to be emotional on the stand. And she was pretty focused as well on that and on giving her story. Glanced at the judge a few times, but it was almost like she was trying to avoid looking at Chad.
Any new witnesses starting tomorrow then, Amy, when court resumes?
Yes. So we understand that there'll be 2 lay witnesses. So thinking maybe family coming again to kind of give, a character witness kind of things on maybe more on Chad's reaction to Tammy's death. And then we understand 1 expert witness will be called on Wednesday. So not sure who that is. The other kind of expert that was called on Monday was this FBI agent, and he talked about very clearly that Alex Cox, Lori's brother, was on the Daybell property the day after JJ was last seen, the day after Tylee was last seen, and that was unusual for him using his cell phone kind of tracking data. But he was there on those days. So it could be another expert witness that gives us a clue into, what were these 3 people doing on those days where all these 3 people died.
Amy Kobe, thank you for joining us, KSL News radio reporter that is at the trial right now and has been giving us updates throughout. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, I'm sure the trial is going to continue for quite some time. I think at one point we thought it would be 8 weeks or more. I've lost count of what week we're in right now, but certainly as testimony continues, we'll have our team of reporters and producers checking in on the trial.
It will be very interesting for me to learn what role prosecutors think Alex Cox played in this. That was Lori Vallow's brother-in-law. and he's since passed away, has died. So I don't know what role he played. And the fact that Chad Daybell is up for capital murder, he faces the death penalty. To see how these three conspired or worked together to kill these children will be eye-opening.
You heard at the beginning of Amy's live report there from Boise at the trial of Chad Daybell that they were given the day off of trial today because of a funeral of a sheriff's deputy shot and killed during a traffic stop just a few nights ago. The Ada County Sheriff's Deputy Tobin Bolter. Female deputy, I believe, who was shot in the line of duty. At any rate, Deputy Bolter transported to the hospital, passed away of gunshot wounds after pulling over a 65-year-old male suspect on a misdemeanor warrant.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 a.m. at KSL News Radio. I'm Tammy Kikuchi. KSL's top local story this hour. Protests over the Israel-Hamas war on college campuses have reached Utah. Last night, police cleared a large group of pro-Palestinian protesters from the University of Utah. After protesters were told they could not camp on President Circle last night, police and riot gear eventually drove people off campus. 17 people were arrested after police say some of the protesters threw things at officers and injured one. The campus on President and President Circle are both open and looking normal this morning. Lane Bangeter led a noticeable political career before moving to Utah. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit reports.
Bangeter's Republican career in the Gem State really peaked in 2020. He was an outspoken supporter of then-President Donald Trump and his re-election effort, and he even attended the Republican National Convention as a state delegate later that year.
Bangeter moved back to Utah in 2021. Camp managers at Dinosaur National Monument have approved a new camping fee. It'll raise the price around $10. If signed, they will take effect next year. Officials say it's getting more expensive to maintain the park as more people visit. Your money at this hour, the Dow is down 411 points. S&P down 49 points, and the NASDAQ is down 185 points. Coming up, slowly getting warmer, only to get cold again. KSL weather and traffic are next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
It's springtime in the Rockies, and it's time to apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment. A Revive treatment with fertilization, aeration, and good watering is the key to building stronger roots for a healthy, lush green lawn. Revive fertilizes and moves water and nutrients deeper into the soil. Take advantage of spring storms with an application of Revive now. Protect yourself from drought later this summer and skyrocketing water costs. With Revive, if you water 2 times a week, it's like watering 4. Apply Revive Organic Soil Treatment today. It works.
Odds are, if you have a 401k, it's set up with your payroll provider or an insurance company. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and if you're using your payroll provider or an insurance company for your 401k, the employer may be overpaying for the plan, the employees may have blasé investment options, and those blasé investment options may cost more than they should. Not with Trajan Wealth. Call us today, 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Services offered through a third-party partner.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We've had an accident near the construction southbound I-15, 5600 South Roy in Weber County over to the left. But we're not seeing any kind of delays. That's also in the final cleanup stages. In fact, all of your Salt Lake County freeways are looking good with no problems. Calling all Wasatch and Summit County residents. Use the code LOCALVIP to get early access and lock in your summer plans for Utah Symphony's Deer Valley Music Festival. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, today is dry with mostly sunny skies and highs around 60. Tonight, a small cold front will drop in and drop our temperatures Wednesday to the 50s. The weekend, however, looks warmer with highs in the 70s. Right now, it is partly cloudy and 52 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Tammy Kikuchi from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
There's so much going on with protests around the country, even the University of Utah over Israel and the Hamas and the war that's been going on, that sometimes we need to just step back, Dave, and figure out if we're misassigning labels or we're pointing fingers, we're painting people into a corner without really listening to them. And that's why we have Boyd Matheson.
One of the hardest things to do right now is to ask the question, what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about? We see these protests up at the University of Utah. We're seeing it at Columbia University and the University of Texas. And you hear terms like, we need you to divest from Israel. Well, what does that mean? Like, what are you looking for, Boyd? And I think right now, I don't know if we're exactly talking to each other.
Yeah, definitely not talking. We're talking past each other. We're screaming a lot past each other. And there's a lot of folks across the political spectrum and a lot of the different views on this particular conflict that are not even talking about it in the right way. And so it's creating more confusion than clarity, which gets everybody angry and frustrated, and it just foments all of the problems that we're seeing. And so I had a great conversation yesterday. In fact, we're going back to it to start our show today.
Oh, good.
With Judith Levine, and just going through, let's just everybody exhale, and let's start going through some terms, what they mean, what they don't mean, so that we can actually have a conversation. Because here's the bottom line where we all should start from, and that is the security and peace of the Jewish people living in Israel and the security and peace of the Palestinians living in Gaza are interdependent. Those two things are connected. And there's a lot of other things in terms of government and terrorist organizations and all of that get all wound around the side. But in the end, that's the only place we get to this place we call peace.
Judith Levine with The Guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go and listen to some of your discussion with her from yesterday.
Many people who are supporting liberation in Palestine or an end to the bombardment by Israel of Gaza are not pro-Palestinian in the sense that they want there to be a single ethnic state of Palestinians in the space between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. And similarly, people who care about Israel or want Israel to stop, bombarding Gaza, they're not necessarily they're certainly not Zionist, meaning that they think that there should be a Jewish ethno-state in that area. So nor does being so-called pro-Palestinian mean that you support Hamas. I mean, I've seen now recently, for instance, on Fox News, they're talking about pro-Hamas campus protesters. And I think many of those protesters have made very, very clear that they condemn and abhor the atrocities that were done on October 7th.
So, Boyd, what are we talking about? What terms do we need to be using to figure out if we're having the right conversation?
Yeah, so I think we have to back up a little bit and just start with who's who and where do they live. So there are so many innocent Palestinians living in Gaza, and that's where I think many of the protesters are saying, look, those innocent people are suffering. They don't have proper nutrition. They're being bombarded. They're getting caught in the crossfire. And so to say that you're pro-Palestinian there does not mean you are pro-Hamas. Now, Hamas presents all kinds of challenges. It's very interesting. We were talking just before we went on air. Mm-hmm. Israel is a nation state. So you have a government, you have military, you have functions of government. Hamas has none of that.
A terrorist group.
They're a terrorist group.
Yeah.
And so when you start looking at, well, how do you negotiate with that? It's very different for a nation state to navigate with another nation state. You know, country to country, that's easy. But country to a group that's loosely organized, that gets pretty complicated. I actually had a guest on before October 7th who had been doing a documentary called Whispered in Gaza, talking to the Palestinian people who live there and how horrible their lives were under Hamas rule and how they couldn't get into a doctor unless you knew the right people and worked your way through the right cronyism in terms of Hamas. And so that's a whole thing that nobody's been talking about. And so then you look at it from the Israeli standpoint, and they deserve to be safe and secure and have some peace there. And so you can say that I'm pro-Palestinian, for the people. So separating the people from the government, that's probably the first thing we all should do. Because we've covered a lot of things in terms of protests against the Israeli government. I mean, all last summer we talked about the protests going against Benjamin Netanyahu, who was doing some very undemocratic things, amassing power and taking it away from their judiciary. And millions of Israelis went to the streets last summer protesting against Benjamin Netanyahu for this power grab he was going to do. So people and government. So separate those things. That's step one.
Now that you've been saying that, we have been labeling the protest up at the University of Utah last night as a pro-Palestinian protest at the University of Utah. Of course, we're trying to get a hold of the organizers of the protest. It turned into, cops showing up in riot gear and telling them to take their tents down, and then 17 arrests. We're going to talk to the University of Utah about why they went that direction with the use of force up there in just about 9 minutes or so here, Boyd. But getting back to your point about labeling, to be truthful with you, since we haven't talked to the organization that did this, we don't 100% know if they're pro-Palestinian or if they're just Gaza being bombarded with a ton of, missiles and stuff, and the humanitarian issues that we see popping up there in the Gaza Strip because of this ongoing war through no fault of the individuals maybe who live there, but certainly because of what Hamas started back on October 7th.
Yeah.
So
the complexities are
it's the nuances here that we run to the labels.
That's right.
And then we automatically think, well, I mean, they must be, or they're that.
Yeah.
But the reality of this situation at the University of Utah is we got to be talking to the people who are organizing this to ask, what are your thoughts? What are your goals? What is your mission here?
Right. And listening to where the direction of the conversation goes. Mm-hmm. Because it's one thing you could say that you are anti-Israel, and maybe you're referencing the bombing going on in Gaza, that you're worried about the innocent Palestinians. And then there's a whole other space of that is getting conflated, which is anti-Semitism, which is absolutely unacceptable, and where some of these problems are stemming. And so what we really have to listen to is not to just the chants and to the labels, but where is the conversation really leading? And is it leading us to a place? Because, again, let's remember the compatible principles of all of this is that peace and security for the Palestinians and for the Jews in Israel are interconnected. And they're not going to get there between these kind of shouting matches or anti-Semitism or just, all the things that we're throwing out there. And I would say that on some of these college campuses, some of those protesters couldn't distinguish the difference between any of those nuances either. And that's part of this white-hot rhetoric that we get into and that we've become accustomed to and that we've tolerated far too long in our country, in our politics, and now we see it continuing to boil over where people are instantly certain of who's good, who's bad, who's evil, who's wrong, and it's much more nuanced than that. We're talking about conflicts that have gone back 2,000 years. You got to have a little nuance if you're going to get to the bottom of that one.
Boyd, thank you. Host of Inside Sources, that starts today at 1.
University of Utah joining the line next. There was quite the scene last night, speaking of protests on campus, President's Circle, where protesters showed up 11 o'clock last night. Police started moving in.
Please back up, you guys. Please kindly back up.
Several arrests were made. Sounds like people went to jail based on what we've been reporting all morning long as well. And the University of Utah now answering the question that we're going to ask straight ahead is why the use of force, why that level of force was used against those protesters last night up at the U.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I've got Adam Kirkham, who's the president of the Utah Association of Realtors, here to talk about changes to the home buying process because of a national settlement. Adam, what does the settlement mean for Utah home buyers?
Great question. And while we don't know exactly how everything will play out, we do expect to see some changes starting in July. One of those changes is the requirement that a buyer will need to sign a formal representation agreement with their realtor at the start of the home buying process.
Is this a big change?
It is a big change for most of the country. Here in Utah, we've been signing these representation agreements for years. It's more of a procedural change of when the agreement will need to be signed, and that's before you start the home buying process.
How can a buyer learn more about changes?
Contact a realtor. They know these changes. They've been educated on them. They are keeping up on this settlement and the market demands, so you don't have to go about purchasing a home on your own.
If I don't have a realtor, where do I go?
You could go to utahrealtors.com.
Don't let this happen to you.
Some people have been stuck for over 20 minutes just trying to get from 4 and 500 South up to the North Temple intersection.
Know before you go.
You're going to see your typical congestion areas on city streets.
Cleanup of a crash continues westbound I-80.
Get traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. It could mean the difference between getting to your destination on time or...
We have you covered.
Mornings and afternoons
on KSL News Radio.
Guys, are you still dealing with loss of energy, poor sleep, weight gain, and even ED? Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City offers guaranteed low T and ED treatments. And this month only, qualified patients get a free 1-month supply of personalized ED medication, plus a free ED treatment producing immediate results. Availability is limited. Book your free exam and consultation today. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
You've been trying to hold off, but you think it's time you might need a new roof? Best move you could make is to call the highest-rated roofing contractor in Utah. IWC Roofing has been working up there for 27 years. They offer the best warranty in the business, backed by Owens Corning. What's most amazing is they'll replace your entire roof in one day. Instead of Chuck with a truck showing up for a week of chaos and mayhem, you get professionals. IWC Roofing is in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. They'll even send pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting for your hard-earned money. Now, you think a highly skilled Owens Corning Platinum Certified contractor would charge more, but no. IWC offers a better price, and if you call now, they'll give you an extra $2,000 off your quote. $2,000 off. So call IWC Roofing for a free estimate, 801-232-5690, 232-5690, or visit IWCRoofingUtah.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tammy Kikuchi. What happens to those arrested at the University of Utah for protesting the Israel-Hamas conflict? Second, the Alpine School District considers several options in splitting the district. And third, betting may be possible on skee ball and hotshot basketball at Dave & Buster's. Right now, it's 52 degrees and partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If your tents are not taken down, they will be removed by law enforcement.
That just gives you a taste of the scene last night up at the University of Utah.
Back up. Please back up, you guys. Please kindly back up.
Dave and I came in this morning. We sat in a conference room and watched the videos of what was going down last night at President's Circle as protesters. We've been referring to them as pro-Palestinian protesters, been trying to get a hold of them and see if they could join us up at the University of Utah last night. Lots of them, then start pitching tents. And then at 11 o'clock last night, a line of cops, riot gear, 5 different police departments move in and start making arrests.
It sounds like this group is Mecha of the University of Utah. They have been involved in many protests up at the university. They had arrests happen when they were protesting against transgenderism or anti-transgenderism. So they've been arrested in the past. They've conducted a number of protests. And last night when we were watching this, these individuals, these young adults, were being hauled off by police.
Chris Nelson, the University of Utah Chief Communications Officer, live on the line with us. Chris, just I really want to understand the context and the decision making that went on to for this to escalate to the point where there was 5 police departments there. So walk us through the background there on what led to the decision to start making those arrests last night at about 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, let me give you some history, too. The University of Utah is proud of its role in promoting free speech and free expression. I mean, if you go back in the last year, we've probably had half a dozen protests on our campus. We had one back in the 1st of November where a group of students interrupted a different group of students, and there were some arrests made there. And since then, we had 3 or 4 very peaceful protests. I mean, the University of Utah campus is a place that embraces this. We've got speakers from all points of view who are on campus on a weekly basis, and there are folks who will often protest that or attend, and again, we hold that as a really foundational value. Last night was different. Last night started as a very peaceful protest at 4 p.m. There's a student group, but there was also some outside groups. And around, sometime between about 4 and 6, they moved from the steps of the Park building to the grass area of President's Circle and just instantaneously put up about a dozen tents. And, we've been watching our colleagues nationally, and protests are welcome on our campus. Free speech is welcome on our campus. Encampments, camping on our campus is not. That's against state administrative law. It's against university policy. And so I'm going to be really clear. It wasn't about the protests. It was about the encampments last night. We sent faculty members. We sent representatives of our academic senate to have these conversations. We thought we had reached a negotiation where, if the tents came down, they could stay out and protest. We even offered a meeting with President Randall this morning. That was rebuffed, and by 11 o'clock at night, we realized that we needed to take action to really send a message. Again, students are welcome, community is welcome to protest on our campus. They are not welcome to set up encampments, and that's a hard line that we will work with state officials and city officials on holding moving forward.
As you have been watching what is going around the country at Columbia, at the University of Texas, at Portland, what did you see as far as the escalations of some of those protests that concerned you with the budding protest that was happening on your campus?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would just point out, we're still going through this, but, our officers removed, about a dozen tents. They had water bottles, stashes of water bottles. There was food and toilet paper that had been brought in. And again, so this was a well-orchestrated event. And again, we're not the only campus that dealt with this yesterday. This was a national movement. And so we're watching this. And again, the University of Utah is a big, complicated organization. We have a lot of responsibilities. We have responsibilities to the community, to the folks visiting our campus, for the community, cultural, arts, sports events. We have a commitment to our students to keep them safe. We have a commitment to, the patients on campus. And so, again, really on this campus at least, taking a hard line. What we saw at other universities is you get an encampment started and it's very difficult to disrupt it. So we made the difficult decision. I mean, this was not an easy decision last night, and it was made in partnership with law enforcement. I know we had state leaders who were asking questions, and it's like, we need to make this question. We need to make a stand right here. Again, protests, absolutely fine. Free speech, absolutely fine. It's the tents going up. It's the encampments that we took issue with.
Chris Nelson, University of Utah Chief Communications Officer, on the line with us. We've been covering all morning long what we watched on video unfold last night at the University of Utah of police riot gear moving in. Many police officers making arrests and removing protesters from that area. You just heard it was mainly about the encampments. And so, Chris, I'm still having a really difficult time. I've covered cops and crime and protests for 30 years. I'm having a hard time with what I watched on that video matching, the issue of encampment. Like the use of force up there last night, to me, was tremendous compared to what the apparent, I'm not even 100% sure it's a crime, but you said there's been a violation of state administrative law.
Right. But I would push back, Debbie. I would
Go ahead,
say,
please.
Again, we have 4 hours of conversations with these groups. To say, you are welcome to do this, you cannot do this. And again, looking at other universities, the university is not open for camping. We are not open to set up, what has happened at Columbia University. And so, again, my observation last night, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of police. I'll speak on behalf of the university. Certainly, we have a police department. But my observation is that our students and even some of the Metro organizers, they actually did leave. Of the 17 arrests last night, and we're still processing this, but early indications is a very small number of those folks were actually University of Utah students. I'll have better numbers later on today once all that information gets back to us. But again, this is what's different from my generation when I was a student here many years ago. Is this feels more organized through the community, through national organizations, and I think that's been our concern watching this nationally, is making sure the University of Utah, I would say, is people have asked, where does the University of Utah stand? And we've been prohibited, from making statements. I would tell you definitively where we stand is with our students. We want our students to be successful. and we want our students to graduate and go on and have productive lives. And so that is what guides nearly every decision we make up here. And again, a hard one. Debbie, there's definitely room for disagreement, but looking at what was brought to campus, the organization, this was more than a student protest. This was something different. And again, we will always foster free speech on our campus, but we will not allow our campus to be overtaken or occupied by outside groups.
Some of the schools around the country have actually told their students that their academic eligibility, they could be suspended if they don't disperse. What is the University of Utah willing to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we have a very robust, there's always two tracks when students find themselves in trouble. There's the criminal track, which obviously the university doesn't have much control over. Those charges get screened and go to the district attorney's office. And then there's the kind of the academic side. And again, our goal is to provide students with as much learning as possible. I mean, we would hold administrative suspensions or being expelled from school really as a last resort. Our vice president for student affairs always talks about, college should be the time where you can come and learn about yourself, learn your identity, even make a few mistakes. It is a learning environment. So, for instance, students last night who might have been arrested, they'll be referred to our Dean of Students office, and the Dean of Students office will work with them through a process. And there might, the goal is always redemption recovery. The goal, we don't ever start with wanting to, suspend or expel a student or prohibit a student on campus. And so that's really a case by case basis, but it is informed by the idea of helping students learn from an experience rather than punishing a student.
Chris Nelson, thank you for joining us. Chief Communications Officer up at the University of Utah.
Thanks, Chris, for agreeing to disagree with me. I think the visuals on this were not good. The video of it, I'm sure, is probably going to go viral. I thought it was a bad look for Utah, the University of Utah, the police in general. Tons of use of force, and you just heard them confirm to us that it was over the encampments.
But what I think would have been an even worse visual is if it had escalated to what we were seeing on the campus of Columbia University, where students had overtaken a building and actually barricaded the doors.
But it didn't. So let's speak to a retired chief of police in about 4 minutes to ask about that question, Dave. Do police have the authority to be preemptive with riot gear and that kind of thing just in case somebody might breach a door? It didn't. They were setting up encampments. That's what this was all about. That question answered next.
11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tammy Kikuchi, KSL's top local story this hour. Police removed a group of protesters from the University of Utah campus overnight, and 17 people were arrested. KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas tells David Dujanovic about the types of charges the protesters could face.
State law would be like a disorderly conduct, a failing to disperse, perhaps a trespassing. Not serious crimes, but certainly crimes.
Skordas says Salt Lake City also has an ordinance with the University of Utah that makes it illegal to set up a camp and stay on campus grounds. A handful of cities in Utah County are moving to explore splitting off from the Alpine School District. Highland City signed off on an interlocal agreement with Cedar Hills, Alpine, Lehigh, Draper, and American Fork to explore creating their own district. Highland Mayor Kurt Osler says if the school board voted to pursue a split, the final decision would come down to every voter in the school district.
If we do an interlocal agreement with the cities, which I mentioned they're going to be up there in that northern Utah County area, it will be the residents there that will have that opportunity to vote if they would like to do a new district reformation.
The school board is meeting this morning, and they're expected to discuss what to do in terms of the district's future. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 385 points, S&P is down 48 points, and the NASDAQ also down at 185 points. Coming up, the sunshine is nice, but a little deceiving. KSL weather and traffic is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Febreze Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week. Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, you know I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owed the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Are you willing to do something today that will change every tomorrow for the rest of your life? For me, that one thing that changed everything was the day I made the decision to begin my SOTA weight loss journey. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. I was so tired of being a spectator on the bench, out of the game, feeling tired and out of shape. But with my personal SOTA nutritionist, they helped me break through bad habits and poor choices and build a better me for today and for the rest of my life. No fads, no potions. I let go of 37 pounds in 90 days. I'm 2.5 years into my journey, and I am still 37 pounds down, have never felt better. The results don't lie. The difference will surprise and amaze you. I always say that when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win. So start winning. Your healthy tomorrow starts today. Make the decision today that will change every day for the rest of your life. Check it out. State-of-the-art weight loss at SOTAweightloss.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We actually have a really nice drive on the Valley freeways. If you're traveling north or southbound I-15, good speeds between Ogden and Provo. Crash-free on your Salt Lake County freeways, our main secondaries. Also seeing a nice and quiet drive. UDOT construction alert. Plan for delays on Bangerter Highway this weekend as the bridge over State Route 201 will be closed for maintenance. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today is dry with mostly sunny skies and highs around 60. Temps will drop tomorrow with highs in the 50s and another cold front on Thursday night into Friday. But the weekend looks warmer with highs in the 70s. Right now, under partly or mostly cloudy skies, 52 degrees. I'm Tammy Kikuchi from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I felt like things escalated really quickly last night up at the University of Utah on the lawn in President's Circle. 5 police departments, riot gear, moving in, removing protesters. We just heard from the University of Utah moments ago, weighing in on this, Dave, and why the decision was made to bring in so many police officers, 5 different jurisdictions, the use of force that was used. And ultimately, to me, my takeaway was it was when they went the encampment route, when the protesters started setting up tents.
No question. That was the difference maker, according to the University of Utah. They're like, protest away all you want, but as soon as you start setting up camps, and they were in negotiations trying to make sure that was very clear that will not be allowed.
Chris Nelson, Chief Communications Officer with the University of Utah, just hanging up the phone with us moments ago, said, hey, this all started with hours of conversations.
We had 4 hours of conversations with these groups to say, you are welcome to do this. You cannot do this. And again, looking at other universities, the university is not open for camping. We are not open to set up, what has happened at Columbia University. Looking at what was brought to campus, the organization, this was more than a student protest. This was something different. And again, we will always foster free speech on our campus, but we will not allow our campus to be overtaken or occupied by outside groups.
And if you look at what is happening at Columbia University, they have taken over this morning one of the halls. They have barricaded the doors, they've smashed windows, and they just hung, I'm seeing reports come out that they just hung a flag called that says Intifada. And if you're wondering what that means, it's an uprising. It's an Arabic word for uprising, but the American Jewish community just says the word Intifada references violent terrorism.
What happened at the University of Utah last night with the pro-Palestinian protest gave me no indication that these protesters were breaching buildings. From our vantage point, the video that you and I watched this morning, they were camping. They set up camps, and then police gave them the warning to get out or else. Chris Bertram, whose resume includes former spouse of Debbie Dujanovic. Good to talk to you, Chris. And also, more importantly, former chief of police in the Holiday Precinct with the Unified Police Department for a number of years, and also the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. You're no stranger to these types of decisions, and I think Dave's question that he asked of the University of Utah moments ago is a good place to start, so I'll let him re-ask it of you, Chris.
So was it a preemptive crackdown before something more serious happened?
It probably was. I will say that this is a complex decision. You know, it's interesting because when you talk about universities and colleges, the decision of the police to move in and move people out or make arrests is not solely on the police department. You know, the cabinet, the academic cabinet, even Chris Nelson mentioned that there were lawmakers that were in that decision, and public safety are all probably huddling and bringing in the information, the intelligence of what's going on in this situation before they made the decision that if they start camping, we're going to stop that immediately and start making arrests. So I want to be clear that there's a lot of things probably going on behind the scenes before they made that decision.
So you're taking us inside the war room. I know, just having been married for so long, that's a pressure cooker. I was certainly involved in some decisions as a spokesperson. I mean, at meetings like that when I was a spokesperson for the FBI, and it can be a pressure cooker. And it almost seems like a darned if you do, darned if you don't kind of situation sometimes, would you say?
It's going to be. I mean, anytime you're dealing with protests, and especially on a university campus that embraces free speech, and we're going to put a stop to it, you know, somewhat, as Dave said, preemptively, but we're going to take a stop because of the information that we have, and we don't want this thing to escalate. We don't want people to get hurt. We don't want things to be impacted. We're coming up on graduation week. There are easily, you know, across the country that some of these are going to impact actual graduations. People have worked 4 and 6 years to graduate, and now those are going to be impacted, let alone who are the people actually behind this. And I think it's interesting because we believe that it's just the information that the police officers may have on you know, right there at the encampment or on the campus, but we know that there is information coming in from across the country, more organized, coming through the FBI and those intelligence agencies and police departments that are gathering information about who these people are and what they want to accomplish. And I think that probably went into some of the decisions as to why they did what they did then.
And to your point, Chris, USC has canceled their graduation ceremony already, and that's a month out. but for safety reasons, they said they canceled that. Now, as we were talking to the University of Utah, they said one of their concerns was if we allow the encampment to begin and settle, then moving them out is far more difficult. Can you explain why that would be the case?
Well, I mean, and we heard some things from Chris Nelson about the fact that there was water and supplies and, some logistical issues to keep people there for a long period of time. And I think that once things become ingrained, and we've allowed, we allow civil protests. We allow, in fact, sometimes violating minor laws and civil disobedience with these protests in the past. But I think that some of these protests in the past have gotten out of hand. They've gotten out of control. And it takes even more force to end them in the future. And I think that's one of the things that's being weighed in at the University of Utah is that we don't want to have that bigger issue that may come, as Debbie said, nothing, happened, but may come. And based on the information across the country, we're not willing to let that start here.
So I still have heartburn, and I'm sure we'll have feisty conversations after I get off air about this, Chris. You know how that'll go. Just block my phone this afternoon. So here's the thing, Chris, though. Encampment to me sounds like a really weak excuse to bring in cops with riot gear and start making arrests. Now, we have not been presented any evidence today on the show that suggested that these students were, going to be banging down doors and occupying, and I don't even know if they're all students. They may be just protesters. There was some concerns that maybe they're, not students on campus, who attend the U. So where is that line, though? I mean, I guess you can arrest for camping, but my goodness, I mean, if you walk around the city, you see encampments all over the place and they're homeless and we're not bringing police out with riot gear to take them. Of course we wouldn't do that. That'd be horrible. So to me, I'm not getting my head wrapped around where that line was that all 5 police departments need to come in and we're going to outfit them with riot gear and start making these arrests if they don't go home. What's your take?
Well, some things can possibly be predictable. The fact that you're going to call me later and we're going to disagree on some of these things is predictable. Like this, some of these things can be predictable. We don't have along the Wasatch Front a department the size of LAPD. We're going to have to use multiple departments, mutual aid, to get some of these things accomplished. And we want to bring in people that are specially trained. And when I saw the video, I saw police departments that had special training in public order. The other thing is I think that the decision makers, law enforcement at the university, cabinet, lawmakers said, we want to send a signal that is going to, we're drawing a line in the sand. It's a big line. We don't want you doing this or we will arrest you. We're not going to tolerate it. And I think that's the message. Now, that's not always been the message in the past with our protests in Utah. But I think this one, based on decisions, and you're right, Debbie, there's a lot of things going on in the background, probably some intelligence and information that's weighing into this big decision. And I think that's what's gone on, and they've made his decision. We're gonna take a big stand, last night, and let you know if you continue this is the consequence.
Chris Bertram, thank you for joining us, former police chief in the Holiday Precinct with UFA. Thanks for your expertise.
Yeah, our team of reporters and producers still trying to track down people who were organizing the protest and also continuing to get law enforcement response to that. Appreciate you calling in, Chris. Talk to you in about an hour. Straight ahead, there's just been a really interesting start to new GOP candidate for governor Phil Lyman's campaign. It's landed him in the middle of a lawsuit. That's right. He's kicking off his campaign in court. We're going to tell you why next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep Medical. But first, take the time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep Medical delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. Sound Sleep Medical will help. Call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-716-8672 for details. Sound Sleep Medical.
Small business owners, we know finishing your to-do list can feel like rowing upstream. But it's a river, a whitewater river, and the only paddles you have are pool noodles. Then when a new to-do pops up, you're like, nope, I'm already rowing upstream with these pool noodle paddles. At Progressive, we don't want to make your day any harder. That's why we make it easy to get personalized discounts with a commercial auto insurance quote online, so your to-do list is smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots, and then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Alliance House is a Salt Lake City-based nonprofit that provides a supportive environment for adults living with mental illness, operating on the pillars of education, employment, and housing. Executive Director Paige Huff joins us with more.
Alliance House is part of a program called Clubhouse International, which helps communities across 32 countries find solutions for those living with mental illness. Our organization takes a unique approach to working with these individuals, as we are not clinical and we do not provide therapy or medication. Rather, we are a deliberate community where members, not clients, are seen for their talents, strengths, and abilities. At Alliance House, we help members complete educational goals, develop necessary work skills to return to productive employment in the community, and even secure affordable housing. Our organization is deliberately understaffed so that members can volunteer their time to help run Alliance House, side by side with other members and staff. Through this, we develop meaningful relationships, and our members gain confidence and purpose to integrate into the larger community. If you are interested in donating or getting involved, visit our website at alliancehouse.org.
Alliance House's mission is to rebuild confidence, purpose, and community in the Salt Lake area through education, productive work, and meaningful relationships. Learn how you can help at their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
We've got a great newsletter for you. Every day we produce the 3 Things You Need to Know newsletter. KSL Television, KSL News Radio. We've gotten together. We picked the best stories. All you have to do is text the word inbox to 57500. That's going to show up in your email. Text the word inbox to 57500.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tammy Kikuchi. First, the University of Utah looks to remove protesters from the campus overnight. Second, Provo wants to expand its airport to accommodate more flights. And third, mosquito abatement is underway. Right now, it is 52 degrees, mostly cloudy downtown. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Utah's top political story. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Wow, if you're just getting to the car to head to lunch, lucky you. We had so much going on in the show today that we saved the top political drama for the end of the show. So you can sit in the drive-through line, munch on your hamburger, I guess, in the parking lot there, Dave, and listen to the first big move for the Republican nominee, the GOP nominee for governor for Utah, Phil Lyman, okay, beat out Spencer Cox at convention. I was just going to say, he's starting his campaign in court. It's an odd way to start a campaign. He might argue with me on that. And I've given him an open invitation to join the show. I'm sure he's super busy. But he and his LG candidate are suing the current lieutenant governor because the elections office says your running mate isn't eligible to run because he hasn't met the residency requirements under the state constitution.
You know who we get to blame for this? Senator Todd Weiler. Because no sooner does Phil Lyman announce his running mate, and Todd Weiler tweets out or posts on X, he's like, your running mate is not eligible because there are some requirements to be a lieutenant governor here in the state. One of those is you have to be a resident for the last 5 years.
Well, I think there's some controversy over how the Constitution was worded, and it says like next preceding years or something really awkward.
I don't know what that means.
When anyway, they're gonna fight this thing out in court. But here's what I think is going to be Exhibit A for the state elections office. I went into the archives, and I didn't have to go very far back. The YouTube archives. WDBJ7 in Charlotte does a story. It's dated like August of 2020. Okay, so do the math on that. Not quite 4 years ago, Dave. The title of it is Idaho RNC Delegate Lane Bangeter describes Charlotte experience. Okay, so Lane Bangeter is the name of Phil Lyman's lieutenant governor choice. That's Lane Bangeter. And this news reporter interviews him for a story when he's casting Idaho's ballots in favor of none other than Donald Trump.
I am proud to cast all of Idaho's votes, 32 votes, to Donald John Trump.
A lifelong Republican, Idaho farmer and family man Lane Bangeter joined more than 300 other delegates in Charlotte to support President Trump for a second term.
Oops.
Idaho farmer.
Yeah, he's a farmer. That's what she said.
Running for LG.
Yeah, and then I was watching the story, and they do the lower third graphic with the name. It said, it indicated that he was a delegate from Idaho. And then there's a picture of him in the story as well, standing next to a sign that says Idaho. I think that's going to be Exhibit A for the state. There's probably going to be some voting records out there. There's also probably some property records, whether he declared his home in Idaho as a primary residence. But I think what is probably going to happen on the flip side of this is that his attorney is going to argue, Dave, that the Utah Constitution is very, very difficult to interpret on what the founding
Utah fathers?
Yeah. Meant when they said what they said in the Constitution.
Because it was the state constitution. Correct. Here in Utah.
Correct. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so number one, what do I care if somebody has lived in Utah for the last 5 years? Like that's the criteria that we're living and dying by, is like we arbitrarily choose 5 years if you want to be our lieutenant governor.
Do they have to be a U.S. resident though? Because you open a whole can of worms if you don't, put up the parameters on it. What would your parameters be? You don't care if they don't live in Utah and have, they have said in the lawsuit that he had lived here for a number of years.
Yes.
And so that's what their claim is going to be.
So let's say, for example, you live here your entire life. You leave for a couple of years for whatever reason. You grab another job. You come back. But you've only been here for a couple of years. I've lived in Utah for 45 of my 49 years, 47 of my 49 years. It's a lot. But if I don't line up just right, then I'm not eligible. I think the spirit of the law is saying, are you a Utahn? Are you invested? Do you live here?
And he lives here now.
It feels a little bit like, we're going to get you out on a technicality.
I don't know what Lyman's attachment is to Bangeter. I was surprised he's going to, I'm sure he's qualified. I mean, I have no doubts about like his resume. I think it's his residency that is in question. It's not his resume, certainly. But I was surprised that he was attached to him, that he'd want to tie up his precious campaign time.
That he
in
didn't
court.
just
change
change him out.
on. Just move on. But
it's because
he's. It sounds like Bangerter's also invested a lot in this too. So Lyman's loyal. What can I say? It's just from a campaign perspective, you don't have much runway. You don't have much runway to get out there and start convincing the rest of the Republicans that weren't at the convention on Saturday, that overwhelmingly, voted in favor of Phil Lyman. You got to convince the rest of the party to vote for you at primary, because I'll tell you why. I'm looking at some poll numbers here. And this poll was put out by Noble Predictive Insights. I read it last night. I mean, the line for Cox on this graph is so long, it looks infinite. According to the poll results, among Republicans with an opinion, Spencer Cox holds 81%. And Phil Lyman holds like 6%.
So even though he wins at convention, defeating Spencer Cox, the broader discussion amongst Republicans in a primary election is that they far support Spencer Cox over Phil Lyman.
Right. Well, because when you get to a primary, the right of the party is diluted, right?
It doesn't hurt to
There's more moderate Republicans voting in the primary.
Yeah, no question. Yeah. Convention is very, very specific, but I can see why you'd fight for this, right? This is probably the only time we'd ever talk about Phil Lyman's campaign and his not
any
just
publicity
his campaign,
is
but,
good publicity.
Yeah, I mean his lieutenant governor pick. Like, we'd never have that conversation. Fight away. 5 years.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL